Tennessee-Alabama game where Nick went down. And what is more enjoyable, people, than seeing Nick go apeshit on the sidelines yelling at some kid after he had been on, any number of interviews where he tries to act like a human being and says, well, it's all about the kids. And then he Woody Hayes this guy. I mean, it was insane. I mean, he stopped just short of Bobby Knight, the kid, and strangling him, right there on the sidelines in the middle of a game. All that being said, now, people always made this equation, right, that penalties fall upon the responsibility of coaches. That it's not players that commit penalties, but if you have an inordinate number of penalties, an absurd number of penalties in a game, that it falls on the idea that maybe you're not coaching well. So then how would you ever justify Nick Saban's team getting penalized 17 times in a game against Tennessee? 17 times.
That's crazy.
Nick, what's going on there? Where's the discipline, Nicky boy?
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. I'm laughing because I was just thinking about how many times I've been in no man's land or started from scratch. But I'm in no man's land in a number of respects here today. Good to be with you, though. One place that we feel very comfortable is right here on South Florida Live. Good morning to Julian, always the first to greet us here, along with Andy and many others who participate on the chat line, including our fact checker and our provocateur. When it comes to things that we're missing in our discussion, the great Jim Sarney. We welcome all of you to the program here, and happy to have you guys on board. Hope you're telling your friends to subscribe to South Florida Live. Later on, we go old school with iconic broadcaster Tony Segreto, and we probably need a little bit more of a rosy picture on certain things because we're really starting to fetch and whine and bellyache and complain, and all the shadows of doubt are being cast upon a lot of different things that have taken place here, certainly in town. I don't know around the sporting world because it's very interesting to observe what's happening elsewhere where people are happy, they're giddy. New York City would be an example, except for the fact that the Yankees bombed out. And look, I mean, you're only as good as your last film, right? The Mets being eliminated early in the playoffs in their first round matchup, forgotten completely. And this is one of the reasons I'm in no man's land because I remember yesterday I was talking about when do you go nuts on the poor customer service person who is in some boiler room in the Philippines or Indonesia and is taking your complaint calls about, in this case, my missing delivery of the New York Post, which I do depend on. And I was going to make the call yesterday. And a lot of people said, the third time is the charm. Like the first time you call up and say, well, I didn't get my paper today. Can you give me a credit? Okay, no problem, Mr. DeForest. And we'll look into it. We'll alert your carrier. And we'll make sure that you have the paper tomorrow morning bright and early. So when you're taking that first dump, boom, you're able to sit in there as if you were reading a little Dostoevsky, right? A little War and Peace. And I like that. I like to thumb through all of the different things. There were many articles, that I pick up after I peruse the various internet sites. And they miss a lot. You don't have the depth on the internet. You may be able to scramble and find like a lot of different things in different areas, but you don't have the depth sitting right in front of you that you do in a well put together sports section where they've examined problems in detail and answered questions in detail, interviewed people that you just don't find, this kind of stuff easily on the internet. I'm sure it's there, but I mean, who has all day to just sit there on a computer and press buttons when you could have it all in front of you and in the 10 minutes you're on the throne, understand much of what's happening in the sporting world. What do you think, Louis? I know you're not a newspaper advocate. You might have been at one time, though.
I love them, but everything's just online. Look, every newspaper has a companion online, which is the same exact thing. You just have to look here or here as opposed to here. I mean, it's the same information. It's the same. It's set
I
up.
like flipping pages, man. Staring at empty pages.
Look, a lot of people are still listen. By most accounts, they went to CDs for a reason, but people will tell you an album's the best sound, which is not true. There's a reason we went away from that shit. It's better now, but it's, you get the clean, you get the when the goddamn thing goes around, there was something to it. Same thing with, it's the same fucking information, but there's something about sitting there with a paper. I used to do it every Sunday. My parents always got it and I would read it. I love the paper. It's just not as practical. And it's usually, sometimes there's more money. You get these things with Sun Sentinel where it's $1 for 6 months. Like they don't do that with paper.
Oh, no. I'm paying face value for the newspaper, even though it's getting delivered, although it hasn't been getting delivered on a consistent basis of late. So I spent a good portion of the early, the start anyway of the program yesterday,
Yesterday.
asking people just as a question of protocol, when is it okay to just unload on somebody, even though, and it's very much, and I said this to Mike Mayo in the lunchbox yesterday, that complaining to the customer service person, and he deals with this because he's always having to go through the filter of people that had lousy service in a restaurant, and when do you say something or
Yep.
whatever, and I don't know what's a reasonable amount of time to finally just explode. But the truth is, when you're talking to the customer service person, it doesn't matter really what business it's related to. For the most part, if it's a general place that you call to voice your complaint, you're talking to somebody that can do nothing about it,
Nothing.
had nothing to do with the situation, is maybe going to make a note in a file. I do notice that they kind of have notes about when you've called before.
Yes.
But ultimately, the situation isn't going to change because you unload on this person. It's very much like talking to a psychiatrist or any kind of psychologist or shrink.
I enjoyed my psychologist. I feel like it's the way
They're
you
not listening, Lubie. They're not listening to a word that you say. At some point during the conversation, they're looking at their watch going, it's 45 minutes. Okay, your time is up. And the truth is they haven't heard a single thing that you say. And if they did, they were more likely to do what I was going to do to this poor customer service person and just sit there and go, stop your fucking whining already, Lubie. Stop it. We don't care that the Heat don't play any defense. But we don't care that the Marlins just hired a guy to be their manager that nobody has ever heard of before. It doesn't matter. Just stop your whining, stop your kvetching, stop your bitching, get out there, take in a little sunshine, go to the beach, grab a beer, sit in a chair for a while, walk in the ocean, hope there are no jellyfish, and then you're okay. And if there are jellyfish, eat one because it'll help your memory, which is an essential ingredient in this business. I mean, you have to be able to remember certain things. Names, wow, they're starting to blank out, which isn't good. So anyway, I was spared the phone call because as I got up to leave the house yesterday to go to Grandpa's, which, by the way, I'm in Dynamite Knish.
Yeah, they make it really good. I was saying
it's different. It's different, but it's delicious. I would say that.
Mayo, because we're in South Florida, so outside of New York, we're like maybe LA, we're deli capital. So there's delis all over the place, especially at least in my area. But they all start to meld together. It's the same egg, same potato, same whatever.
Yeah.
One thing I'll give her, Grandpa's, their stuff isn't the same. Like it has like a distinct flavor. Like everything is just good. Like it's just different. It's worth like going out there, and even though it's in Dania, like it's just different. It feels like when you're in New York, like the New York delis to me feel a little different. Like it just feels a little different. Like,
oh no, very very good. I mean, I enjoy my visits down there. It was a bit of a schlep yesterday. Mayo was blaming it on the boat show traffic. I don't think that was the deal at all. Because I usually US 1 for me. I mean, for the unfamiliar, obviously this is meaningless in terms of the geography. But for me to just fly down US 1 and avoid going on 95 usually is an asset. Now coming back, I went the same way, and it took far less time because there's a lot of construction, I guess, going. Yep. On that one side of US 1. I guess it would be the west side of US 1. So it took me a long time to get down there, but it was worth the trip for sure. And we had a great time there. I would say, there's a proliferation of delis here. I'm not sure what everybody's looking for, but I know one thing I'm never going to be looking for. And I don't know how Mayo comes up with this stuff, but he had a turkey and liver sandwich.
Someone later watching was chop liver. It was chop liver. He wants us to know
chop liver. Yeah, it wasn't liverwurst.
It wasn't liverwurst. Someone else chimed in. Is like turkey and chop liver is a great combination. I don't understand why those guys have never heard of it. I never heard of it. I don't know what to tell you.
If you were going to write a show, called Anatomy of a Suicide, all you would have to do is read the ingredients on a package of liverwurst.
Exactly.
Which I had a brief romance with liverwurst for some reason when I was like maybe in my late 20s. I don't know. For some reason, I tasted it one time and it had like a sharp bite to it, and I thought, wow, that's good. So I bought a package and I started making liverwurst sandwiches. And as it got towards the end, and the thing flattened out because it's always in some like hideous plastic. So, you're scraping it off with a knife. And then, I read the ingredients and that was it. Putin couldn't put together a death cocktail like they have, in the ingredients on a liverwurst package. I mean, if he was giving it to that Navalny guy, I mean, he would hand him a liverwurst sandwich. The guy would have been gone already. He wouldn't be occupying a spot in a Russian prison. Which Brittany Griner, man, that's a sad story, isn't it, really? I mean, think what you will of Brittany Griner. obviously an act of stupidity, whether it was out of ignorance or whatever. I mean, just silly. I mean, to carry drugs into a foreign country of any type. I believe that. I know a lot of people, even a Mustang when we went to Italy said, "Oh, I should have brought the gummy bears." I like, you know what? I don't mind that you didn't. All right.
That's okay.
Because you never know, right? They just arbitrarily happen to spot check your bag. They find some drugs, and who knows? Now you're in a legal system, which I mean, could you call that a legal system? What they did to this poor girl in Russia? 9 years for having a minor. I mean, just a fraction of what anybody would consider even a reasonable amount of marijuana to take care of yourself. I guess it was hash oil or something in a vapor cartridge. To get 9 years in prison for that?
Yeah, it wasn't.
You
like
have to be kidding me. I mean, what is this? Reefer madness? How? I mean, what would you think? Are there no drugs in Russia? Is that why they're so protective of their, possible, infusion of drugs into the country here and somebody bringing it in? I can't imagine. Can you? No drugs in that was Midnight Express. At least, the guy in Midnight Express, what was loaded with enough hash to make a difference there. But he ended up getting life, and they have the appeal yesterday. It's sad to see. It really is. It's painful.
That thing sucks.
Yeah. Now a lot of people, got on the bandwagon of, well, geez, Brittany Griner, she's getting what she deserved. She was kneeling during the flag, and she was always protesting. I don't care that none of that really applies to this,
in America,
which is ludicrous. Yeah,
I mean, that's what's great about America is that we can protest.
Right. But whatever she thought about the government at the time, and people were making this illusion because all of a sudden she's imposing on the president of the United States to intervene here and make something happen. And I guess the sad part of that story is this poor Whalen guy who was convicted of espionage 3 years ago and has been rotting away in a Russian prison for 3 years for something that seemed fairly obvious that he had nothing to do with. At least that's what it seemed like on the surface. Who knows? Maybe he was spying. I don't think so, though. That seemed like a blatant setup, and the guy is in total denial of any of the accusations against him. And it seems unlikely that he was guilty of anything except being in Russia and being American, and somebody arbitrarily decided, hey, let's grab that guy and accuse him of espionage. And guess what? Not a lot of good defense attorneys, apparently, in Russia.
I don't think it matters. Do you get an attorney? Like, we have yet to hear Brittany Griner's attorney speak.
No, they have attorneys. She has like public defenders or something.
Yeah.
I mean, as ineffective, and it's unfortunate to say it, but as ineffective as public defenders tend to be in the United States. I mean, you show up in court with a public defender, there's a good chance you're going down.
What I mean, Shirley was like, why are they getting, and look, I'm not saying my brother's saying there's not really a lot there, so it doesn't make sense for them to get the best ever. Yeah. But we're getting some random, like I'm telling you right now. It's like, well, do they need? I'm like, yes, babe. Yes, they're getting a real attorney. We're not messing around with this crap. Like, why would you get some?
No. I mean, you can't mess around. It makes a big difference. I mean, obviously, in the American system, it helps if the attorney happens to play golf with the prosecutor.
Yes.
That's always a good thing. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get a fair shake, because guess what? Even if you go to jail for 5 years, those guys are going to be playing golf on Sunday anyway. Hey, you believe what happened to your client? Holy shit, I can't believe they sent him away for 5 years. No, I'm up here. I had a 3 on the last hole.
Exactly.
Nobody gives it. I mean, that's unfortunately a byproduct of the legal system here, which once you're immersed in it in the United States, all it is a cash grab.
Yeah,
you're trying to get out of it with as minimal damage as you possibly can. Obviously, nobody wants to go to jail, especially if it's some minor offense there and it is somewhat vague, like the case of your brother. I mean, look, it's vague what happened there.
Very much.
All right. I mean, it's not like he went into a public place and started shooting people or anything. Yep. So he was shouting a bunch of nonsense. Look, there was a guy on the street corner, the other day when we were at the Even Keel Fish Shack.
Oh, yep.
Shouting nonsense. No, when it got to the point where he was actually disturbing people and scaring people, they took him off to the police station and probably processed him and let him go and just said, hey, why don't you chill out for a while? Cooler heads prevail. But, but once, like in the case of your brother, where they send 9 FBI guys to your house to pick him up at 6 a.m, that's going to be costly. Whether it's just an attorney. Yeah.
Here, at least you have a chance to get out and whatever. It's okay. How much will they get me for? Over there, they're like out?
my God.
What is this out you speak of? Like, you're not getting
It's a sad story. I don't even like seeing the clips anymore of Brittany Griner in this little cage they have in the courtroom, which is already, I mean, could you look any more guilty than to be presented to whoever is going to decide your fate? Whether it's there's no jury. I mean, there's like a judge panel, I guess. And, I mean, you obviously, you look guilty of sin there. Right? I mean, they have you locked up in a cage while you're in the courtroom, talking through bars. Yeah, I didn't mean to do it. No, I had no intention of that. I didn't even know it was in my suitcase. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
If she was packing an AK-47, she probably would have had less to be worried about. It's so ridiculous. I mean, it just absolutely is. But no, that was a little bit tough to watch yesterday. Unfortunately, they said, yeah, 9 years. That's more than reasonable. It's like, what? You got to be kidding me. Anyway, so go ahead. What were you going to say, Louie?
Is Putin like on the panel? Like, is Putin actually just there?
It's nuts, huh? Wow. That would be scary. I don't know. I'm sorry. I was infatuated with that movie, Midnight Express. I mean, it was a great movie. It was well presented. Brad Davis was the actor, and he was also starting at guard for the Dallas Mavericks. No, that was a different Brad Davis. Billy, what was his last name? The actual guy. It was a true story.
Oh man,
Billy something, and yeah, he ended up escaping. I mean, that was a fascinating story, and I don't know if they over dramatized what was going on with this guy while he was in prison. Billy Hayes, yeah, William Hayes, kid from Long Island. Man, I mean, to get out of that spot, that was not an easy thing. But I mean, is Griner going to have to go in that direction? Start plotting an escape from like Solzhenitsyn, type territories, right? It's going to be written about, like in the Gulag Archipelago or something, man. Sad story. No, really. I mean, but the Whalen guy got no attention until Brittany Griner got grabbed over there for this indiscretion. And honestly, I mean, what happens if you really do something of a criminal nature in Russia?
I don't want to know. It's like Singapore.
What do they chop off your head? I mean, what do they do?
I don't know.
What insanity! I mean, it's sad every day. Actually, I can't believe more isn't. There isn't more concern than just sending money over there and military equipment for the Ukraine. Because to see what's going on over there, it's beyond appalling. I mean, it's the sickest thing, and we're watching it, and it's just like the school shootings now, where we've seen it every night for like 9 months or however long it's been, and you shrug your shoulders and go, "Oh, look at that! They blew up another hospital and a train station with a bunch of kids there." And it's like, how come somebody isn't saying, hey, wait a minute, man, we have to stop this guy from doing this right now? But that's not happening, right? Because what are we afraid of? Nuclear war? No oil? We're not getting any Russian oil anyway.
Yes.
But, wow, to see what the Russian, Putin, I guess, I don't know, he represents all of the Russian people. He might just represent him and his a small circle of oligarchs there that have all kinds of capital from the oil business and whatever other exports they have. And, I mean, to see that just go on, it's really, it's as appalling as watching what's happening politically in this country. It really is.
Yep.
I was thinking about it. I don't know if I mentioned this on a show yesterday, but I do remember when Bill Bradley decided to run for Senate. People overlooked that he was a Rhodes Scholar and went to Princeton.
Wasn't it Princeton?
Princeton and a Rhodes Scholar. Before he got into the NBA, he went to England for 2 years and studied at Oxford. All right, so here it was as sharp a guy as you could be from a mental standpoint in terms of his education. Obviously, he had a deep interest in helping people. He didn't need the money. He played for the Knicks. Probably made top dollar at the time. I don't know that it was enough to get out for life, but I'm sure it was significant. Was a very popular guy. But remember the reaction was, well, what are you kidding me? Some basketball player is going to be in the U.S. Senate? Yep. This was Bill fucking Bradley. I mean, a very distinguished gentleman who went on to, I think, serve very well. I don't know. You don't hear a lot of disparaging things about Bradley as a U.S. Senator, do you? He seemed to be very well respected.
He ran for president, and he was taken pretty seriously running for president. I mean...
But, it was like he was perceived to be some kind of unqualified clown because the bulk of the way people knew him came through his experience in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, what is this? And now look what's happening, man.
It's the opposite. Now you don't have to have any credentials or any experience or any knowledge of anything.
So some guy that was hawking, ineffective and phony supplements is going to win a Senate seat in Ohio because, unfortunately, the other guy had a stroke.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think it was going to go the other way. And, who's wrapped his arms around Dr. Oz?
Well, that's the same situation with Oz. Oz was getting
Johnny
annihilated.
Point. Yeah.
And the Fetterman did well. Fetterman had like a stroke 2-3 months ago.
Yes.
Like
and really hasn't fully recovered. I mean, which is unfortunate.
He was coasting, and Oz is literally the definition of a snake oil salesman. He's not even from the state. He doesn't even reside in the state.
No, he's from like New Jersey or something. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. My God, it's crazy.
Matt Gaetz is literally being investigated for like 7 things right now.
Oh my God.
Rick Scott is literally to this
Rick
day
Scott, a criminal. I mean, Ted Cruz. That was the best thing I saw. I don't know if you guys have had a chance. I guess we can't. Obviously, we can't play it, but I don't even know if you could post it up on like Facebook or something. That video of Ted Cruz at Yankee Stadium, Mayo sent us.
Oh, I love it. That was.
Is that classic, man? Where the Yankee fans are cursing him out. And it's true. I mean, one of the guys is yelling, "Yeah, you bleeping racist, ba ba ba," and Cruz is waving, right? As the Yankee fans are crucifying this guy. I mean, with a verbal assault, the likes of which they weren't even laying on the umpires who were calling all of those low strikes against Aaron Judge. And one of the guys is screaming, "Trump said your wife is ugly, and you still support him."
Yeah.
It's just like little Marco, I mean, Trump belittled all of these people. I mean, to the point as disparaging as he could possibly be. And then they're all like, oh, yeah, we better get on a bandwagon here because we want to get reelected. What a gutless bunch of wimps. I mean, we have as politicians today. Nobody has their own opinion and everybody just wants to be an extremist. And it's a very sad state of affairs. All right. This is all related to my complaint about the newspaper. So anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's where it started.
I'm ready to pick up the phone about 9 o'clock, right? I got done with the show, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to make this call, and I'm just going to, I'm not going to go nuts or anything because that's not really my style. But, I'm going to say, hey, listen, if you can do anything, yesterday you told me for sure, no problem, no show today. What am I supposed to do? I'm paying. I don't want to call every day for a credit. I either want the paper or, I don't really want to threaten to cancel because I really want the thing. All right. I don't want to go to a store to buy it because that becomes. I just enjoy the consistency. What's that?
We start at 7 in the morning. Like, when are you going to go at 6:15? Like, when are you getting a paper? Like, you need it.
Yeah. I mean, I was getting it it was coming. I mean, just consistently, brilliantly. Like sometimes even before 4 in the morning because I get awakened a couple of times during the night by my dogs, who decide that they want something, anything. Right. So it ends up, I keep a piece of ham in my pocket. Here you go, Skippy. Right. And the other dog drafts in behind Skippy, who's the ringleader here, Holly. And, she wants something then, too. She gives you the face. What are you going to do? You're going to get up. You're going to go to the fridge. You're going to get him something and then hope to get back to sleep. So I'm frequently up early in the morning. And it's a byproduct. I think you find this, too, of doing like, as we did for many years, morning drive radio, where, when we were driving to the station, I had to get up at like 4 in the morning. Yep. So I don't know if it just becomes subliminally habitual, but, like 3 in the morning, there, wow, wide awake. Now I can go back to sleep, but, I noticed that the paper sometimes was delivered like between 3 and 4 in the morning.
Nice.
So yesterday, 9 o'clock, I walk outside, and guess what? Not only was yesterday's paper there, but the day before also was wrapped up in a little package.
There you go.
So I got, 2 newspapers there, which I was able to fiddle my way through. But then I walk outside this morning, nothing.
No.
So what do you do?
I don't know.
Gonna have to make this call eventually, right? I mean, what happened here? Maybe, you could understand too. You don't want to necessarily get too down on the carrier. Maybe his car broke down or whatever. This is some poor schmenk that's getting up at 2 in the morning to deliver newspapers, which who gets them anymore? They have to be so spread out that I would imagine in my complex, I might be one of 5 people. Even I don't even think it's that many. There are like 80 units here. I bet 5 people tops get the newspaper of any kind, because the same guy that throws the Post is the delivery person for the Sun Sentinel. They work in conjunction here, and the Post is actually printed by the Sun Sentinel and then delivered here in South Florida. They don't send down a bunch of copies on a plane. Remember those days, right, where the truck would drop off a bale of newspapers?
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, well, who's going to pick those up? Maybe I'll grab a Daily News right out of the stack there. And it was, you know, always bundled there with a rope. I don't know if you remember that. And they would throw it for newsstands and things like that. So, you know, those days are gone where they like put a bunch of papers on an airplane and send them down here. But still, nothing today. So I don't know. I did manage to at least look at these odds, and I wanted to do a little post-race handicapping here, which is my favorite thing to do, and that is to handicap after the fact.
Nice.
All right, after the fact. So last night there was somewhat limited action. You had a couple of NBA games, no football. The Wizards were taking on the Pistons. All right. The Wizards managed to clobber the Pistons, who all of a sudden have reverted back after giving rise for hope that maybe they had a good young lineup. And who was the kid that was like the number one pick, and he looked like he was going to be a bust, and then he had a real good season last year.
The Wizards?
No, the Pistons. Remember Cade Cunningham?
Cade
Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
Okay. He looked like a real player by the time he got to the end of the regular season last year. So you were hoping he would take off. We've been talking to Grant Long forever. He does Pistons broadcasts, of course, longtime player with the Miami Heat, 15 years in the NBA, outstanding analyst. Love having Grant Long on, and we probably should, you know, invite him onto the show sometime in the very near future because NBA early phase, some interesting things, Lubie, would you say? Some interesting things. I know people like to say, well, look, just relax. It's a long season. Now were you saying, did they change the number of games in the NBA? You were saying there were 78 games. I always thought it was 82 games.
Well, the Heat are 1-3, so they have 78 left.
Oh, 78 left. That's why you said that.
Mayo said whatever many games they have left. And I was like, he's like, well, how many do they play? I'm like, well, they have 78 left because they're 1-3.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I only heard part of that conversation because naturally I was focused on what I was going to eat off that plate. How did he eat that turkey and liver sandwich? I wanted somebody to comment on that. Has anybody ever heard of that? Turkey and liver. But it was this thick. I mean, it was this thick that they really do a great job there at Grandpa's in terms of thickness of sandwich would be what? The number one judging point when it comes to the table about any kind of New York style deli?
I say especially a deli, but look, the phrase "atazé," which is something that most Jews will say about a sandwich, is literally about that. You want it to be nice and thick. I actually don't like it that way, but that's what you want when you go to a deli.
Yeah, it was almost disgustingly thick. It really was, but not by the standard that you're looking for. Obviously, this is what the people want, and I don't know. And then on top of that, it had like a fresh slice of tomato and a giant, sort of thick slice of raw onion, Lubie. And this is what Mayo was indulging in. And as if the turkey sandwich wasn't enough, he had like an intermediate layer of liver. I'm saying one or the other. I don't know about you. That combination doesn't appeal to me at all, right?
I agree 100%. I wanted to at least try it, but again, there's a lot going on, so I can't afford to get ill. He seemed to enjoy. He downed the whole thing. He ate the whole freaking sandwich, which I was both impressed and.
In addition to several other items that were offered up, because I provoked him to eat the rest of that lox and the bagels. Unbelievable. But I don't know. I can't see that combination. Can you? Now, I would never go out of my way to get like chopped liver anyway.
No.
You know, I mean, the only reference to chopped liver I ever want to become aware of is when somebody says, "Hey, what do you think I am? Chopped liver?" Huh?
Exactly.
Right? As if you were some kind of chump.
Even to just get look, and I'm not saying the turkey wasn't great turkey, but they have all these other great items there, like to go and get.
You're a strange cat, Mike Mayo.
Meat of all the even chicken, which is in the poultry family, is a little bit better. Turkey's like the worst. There's a reason we only hear people making turkey once a year.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan of turkey. I enjoy it anytime.
I'm not gonna go order it at a restaurant. Like what? Yeah. How often do you go to a restaurant, pay $15 or $12
for the open faced turkey sandwich? Possible.
I'm okay with, but like because at least it's hot. There's gravy.
Yeah.
But like just a turkey, he just likes a turkey sandwich. I'm like, there's not even like there's bacon,
no toast, no mayo, no nothing. Yeah. But who would put liver on that? That was something. And the two owners, and they both came out and they were on the show yesterday. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and even they, when the owner is like having to explain, yeah, we'll do it for people, but we really don't like to. Yeah, it's called something.
Like it's a delicacy. I was like, yeah, okay. He had to bring it. He had to order specially. So.
Yeah. You had to explain to him, you know what you do? You put a slice of turkey there, and then you put the liver right in the. Oh, my God. It didn't even look good. I mean. But that was a gamble that he took. All right, so getting back to this post-race handicap in here. NHL is where you could have made money last night. NHL, if you were a player of underdogs. Mark Lawrence must have cleaned up on the NHL last night. There were a couple of games here that, had huge odds. If you're getting 2-1 on a team, that is humongous. I mean, there are only two teams out there.
Man, professional sports.
Early regular season, and you're getting 2-1 in some cases on home teams.
Oh, wow.
Which was the case in the game last night between the Panthers and the Chicago Blackhawks. How bad are the Blackhawks? They haven't been much for a while.
They weren't bad last night.
No, they beat the Panthers 4-2, and you were getting plus 195 if you bet the Blackhawks. You had to lay 230 to win 100 on the Panthers. So a lot of chalk players were being carried out of the sports books and various, taking their apps and realizing you may as well wrap me in a body bag. That was a tough one. Also, another huge spread here, the Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes, against the Blue Jackets, who I just saw got crushed by somebody the other night. And you had to lay 225 to win 100 on the Blue Jackets at home. You were getting plus 190 with the Coyotes. And the Coyotes, like trounced them. I mean, it was like 6-3 or something like that. So there was another game. I mean, if you could have made a money line parlay here, with a few of these games, you would have been in really, really good shape. But that's after the fact, right? It's always easy. All you degenerates out there to go, oh, yeah, I would have done that. You didn't do it. That's the problem. The game of the night, though, and this was great. The Suns at home against the Warriors, laying 3, Mike Lubie. But Suns at home against the Warriors laying 3. I don't know if you saw the result.
Yeah, you're right. Devin Booker went off.
I just want you to say it. Again, and at the time you were in favor of drafting Justice fucking Winslow.
The whole NBA was. It wasn't just
over
me.
Devin Booker.
Yeah, Pat Riley was, and Pat Riley is a Kentucky.
Riley's
guy.
not the greatest on the draft, though. He never has been. I mean, he got lucky with Dwayne Wade. That was a stroke of luck. He was going to take somebody else.
I know he was going to take. He wanted Bosch. Again,
he wanted Bosch. Yeah.
He wanted Kamen because remember they had Eddie Jones and they had Caron Butler. They had guard and wings. They had to talk him off the ledge. They're like, no, we're going with this guy. Did you see what he did in the Final Four?
Yeah. No, Riley's drafting has not been brilliant. I mean, the times that he has, hit on something, it usually was by accident, more so than by design. The Dwayne Wade thing was strictly, and remember, Toronto ended up losing that game to the Miami Heat, I believe, the last game of the season, and that put them in a position to be ahead of the Miami Heat in the draft. And then, probably the most significant words in Heat history were with the 4th pick in the, whatever that was, 2003 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select Chris Bosh.
Yes.
Forward. You're like, wow, Bosh, good. They took him. And then there was still some debate, I guess, some of the war room accounts reflect that Riley still didn't necessarily want to go all in on Dwayne Wade. And thank God that they did, right? It's always good, if you're the big maca, to sometimes get talked out by your subordinates of a really bad opinion that you happen to want to proliferate and, and maybe doom the franchise in the process.
Yeah, there have been other times where he wasn't talked out, and like you said yesterday. So, yeah, that's the Booker. Well, look, 12, he was, 13th or 14th pick? 12 or 13 teams passed on the dude. So, yeah, he ended up being the best player.
Well, he didn't have a tremendous, body of work to relate to because he was like the 8th guy on that Kentucky team, 6 of which went in the first round. But he wasn't even the 6th man on that team, as I recall. I remember watching some Kentucky basketball, and every time I saw Booker come in, I go, wow, I mean, that guy is an athletic monster when it comes to getting shots off. And, he was a very efficient shooter. He's improved even, from then, obviously. He was like 17, 18 years old. But, you have to be able to anticipate sometimes that, this guy has skills that translate well to the pros. It's kind of like examining horse body language when horses come out on a track. A very inexact science, I might add. But there is some truth to it, right? Like if Michael Jordan shows up at the park and he wants to get into your game and, he says, hey, what are you guys running full? Can I play? But as he's walking up, you're going, wow, who the hell is that, man? That guy looks like an athlete. And, it's the same way when horses come on the track. There's certain horses that, they don't necessarily always look that way, but you'll see, my God, this horse looks like he's on the muscle and ready to go. and it stands out. Now, it doesn't always work. It's not 100% foolproof. Those horses that you think look great sometimes run last. But more often than not, the horse that makes the best appearance on the track will at least be a relevant factor in the race, if not the outright winner. And oftentimes just boogaloos and wins the race. So it's good to look the part. And you're wondering why pro scouts get paid so much money and devote so much time, and they can't see the simplest thing. Like in the case of Justice Winslow versus Devin Booker, which that wasn't really the equation, but it was for us with the Miami Heat because we had spotted Booker. And, we're screaming, go ahead, take him. You were like, no, Winslow, he's a much more solid player.
I didn't think they'd get Winslow. Winslow's supposed to go top 5. I don't even remember. I didn't care about anyone. At first glance, I thought Booker was 6'2". Once I realized he was 6'6", then the Klay Thompson comps were really reasonable. I was like, okay, take whoever. Winslow fell, and there was a reason Winslow fell.
Yeah, because he couldn't shoot.
He can't dribble.
He needed a Mason card whenever he hoisted one up from more than 6 feet. And even his inside shots look kind of ugly and awkward, did they not? I mean, this guy had brick written all over him. He should have just had brick on his back. Justice Brick Winslow. Not to knock the guy. I mean, look, he wasn't the one that said, hey, I'm going to be the greatest basketball player ever. It was other people that had that opinion of him, which, wow, I mean, because he was taken 10th, he'll never go down as one of the big NBA draft busts. But, and you could always go back and historically peg some guy that went 25th or in the second round or a Tom Brady and say, wow, look how many teams passed on this guy. But I did think that because basketball is a much easier game to observe and maybe do the extrapolation of a college guy moving to the pros, you could see that Booker had the skills that would equate out well to being a pro basketball player. I don't know that anybody envisioned that he would be this good. But last night destroyed the Golden State Warriors. So you were laying 3 with the Suns, and they won by 30. Everybody on the Warriors was getting ejected. I think they even started cursing at Steve Kerr in the ballgame. But that's an interesting early season development because you would have thought if anybody was ripe to get off to a really poor start, it was the Phoenix Suns. They had a lot of different things, turmoil and tumultuous stuff happening during the offseason, including Aiden, who, seemed like he was a forgotten man and, was such a big part of all of the success they had in the regular season last year. And then all of a sudden he found himself on the bench when the playoffs came around. And then there was that stunning loss. What were they up? Were they up 2-0 on Golden State? And they ended up losing the series?
They lost to the Grizzlies, I think.
Oh, Grizzlies, yeah. 2-0, but weren't they up 2-0 in that series?
I don't know. That's a good question.
They collapsed, though. I mean, after having one of the most successful and exciting
season, yeah, they were great,
dominating regular seasons that we've seen by any NBA team, including the Showtime Lakers and the Boston Celtics and all of the great teams. Phoenix had a season that was just absolutely beyond Cinderella-esque. And then, like the Mets, unfortunately, or I don't know if it was true of the Yankees, they were showing signs of unraveling towards the second half of the year anyway. So I don't know that it's any big surprise that they didn't make the World Series. If you took the first half of the season and they've had the playoffs at the All-Star break, you probably had the Yankees in the winner's circle. They were playing great baseball at the time. That's the other big concern there. And I'm trying to catch up with the latest of it with Aaron Judge now. How do you read into these indicators? I don't like that. We're not mind readers here. A lot of sportscasters think they're mind readers. Oh, yeah, I know what Brady was thinking. You don't know anything about what Brady was thinking. We don't live Tom Brady's life. We're not in a sack with Giselle whispering sweet nothings into her ear. I mean, we don't know what it's like to be Tom Brady, and we don't know what he's thinking. Maybe Jim Gray knows, but who would want to listen to it if he even had the true story? Why does Tom Brady carry Jim Gray on his back?
I don't get it. I don't understand that whole connection there.
He couldn't, be a fan of Rinaldi or something? Some guy that at least you have respect for?
Rinaldi doesn't need it, I guess. That's the thing. Like Jim Gray.
Rinaldi, though, has disappeared since he went to Fox.
He does the big stuff with Fox. He does football games and stuff, but he's not. He had moved to like a center focus.
I miss Rinaldi on ESPN. I really do.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. He doesn't do that much with Fox.
Those soapy essays, man, those were fantastic. And we teased him about it. And what was great about Rinaldi is he went right along with it.
Yep, he was great.
Right? He knows it was a bunch of BS.
It was great. He liked giving for us.
The autumn leaves, turning colors of red. the same shade as Nick Saban's face after the Tennessee loss. Okay, Tommy boy. Put some violin music under there, and I guess that sounds good. That'd be great. All right, we have a lot to do. We're going to go old school here with Tony Segreto. Anyway, yeah, a little post-race handicapping there on the hockey last night. Anybody betting pucks? I know Larry the Leaper was a big advocate of betting hockey. Is hockey a sport that you could be making a killing in while you're, agonizing every week over football games, which always end up coming down to the last play when the spread is taken into consideration? Would you not just be better off betting hockey, a game that appears to have no structure to it?
I was going to say.
Yeah. It does seem like the results would be semi-arbitrary, right, in hockey, but maybe much more predictable, huh? Although these 2-1 dogs prevailing last night, that was great. Who has the balls to go into a sports book and say, I went 500 on Arizona? They're like, what? The football team?
Exactly.
No. Do you mean the Phoenix Suns? No. I mean Arizona, the Coyotes. I don't know. That would take some guts, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Knowledgeable guys cashed in big last night on the Blackhawks and the Coyotes. Post-race handicapping dreams are always good. All right, so what do? Do I call this schmuck over at the New York Post today or what?
Oh, yeah. But you have to ask for management. You have to ask for someone in the complaint department. You have to ask for someone, not the original customer service person, because they can't do anything. So you're literally you're just venting at that point.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything done going to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you stack up enough complaints, maybe somebody looks into it. I'm not sure.
I would ask for the complaint department, the sales department, or management. That's the first thing I would say.
Yeah, the newspaper coming at noon really doesn't do any good.
No, it's useless. It's totally useless. I don't get it.
Once I've had my second bowel movement, I don't really have much use for the paper anymore. I'm not inclined to sit on the couch and read the paper. It's not really my thing. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment. We want to tell you about Hialeah Park and the beautiful things going on there. It's already Wednesday. And, wow, Steve Calabro, just an amazing job there in the casino because people are winning jackpots right and left. And, that's a good thing. The antichrist of the casino graveyard that you find in most places is Steve Calabro. And of course, the way that he handles Hialeah Park. I mean, he needs to get in there with a screwdriver and help these guys make more money because they're giving it away there at Hialeah Park. And so it seems all your favorite Vegas-style games are available to you, including craps and roulette, blackjack. And, of course, the Royal Reel slot machines are hitting like there's no tomorrow. A great time in the casino there. They're open until 3 a.m. on the weeknights and 5 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. And holidays, it's just a fantastic setup. Of course, Florida, looking out for your best interests, won't just say, hey, you can be open 20. I mean, think about this. You could be open 20 hours, but not 24. Because otherwise... Society's going to go to hell if we just keep these doors open 24 hours. I mean, the same ass backwards stuff that we get from the state of Florida all the time in terms of regulation. But Hialeah deals with all of it, and whatever negatives they throw out there, they find a positive and just double down on making sure that you have the greatest experience you can. Champion Simulcasting Room is absolutely fantastic. They really, it's the most well-run sports race book that you'll have anywhere. Should have been a sports book, but, they shut that down after that clandestine DeSantis meeting, which did Charlie Crist mention that? Hey, what about that package you had with the Seminoles?
Exactly.
How much did you make on that, Ronnie boy?
Well, they all had a pack with the Seminoles. That's the problem. That's why they got Hialeah Park. But places like Hialeah Park got screwed because it would have been even better thing if you could have a sports book.
The good guys always get screwed. That's the way this kind of world operates. It's unfortunate, but you'll never feel that way when you go to Hialeah Park. You're going to be delighted. And the poker room is also just sensational. They do a great job there. So first class all the way around. Of course, you have the beauty of the grounds. They're just the inherent good feeling that you have when you walk in there. And for those of us that used to take part in the glory days of racing in Hialeah Park, wow! I mean, it really does. It takes you back into a time where you just felt good about everything. Felt good about the day you were living, the day you were having, and your life in general, because you would enjoy the glory and the splendor of walking in and playing the ponies there and just sightseeing at beautiful Hialeah Park. Check it out for yourself. They have the calendar of events, hialeahpark.com. They have a Facebook page. I suggest you become a subscriber there or befriend them because they give you all kinds of great information about players' rewards programs and things of that nature, all happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, coming back with more. Tony's going to join us at 8 o'clock. Tony Segreto. We'll go old school with Tony. Tomorrow we have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Always fun with Dave Gerkles. And Friday, a Degenerate Friday. Mike Mayo's lunchbox is going to be on the road. I may take a passeroo on getting out there today, Libby.
I feel like that was coming, and you suck.
Mayo offered the concept. Well, you have Nikki Mohan coming down there, and she's great. So people want to see more of her than
Wonderful.
they do of me.
I would love to be driving somewhere in the middle of my head.
Unfortunately, this is the business you have chosen.
Sure.
And Mayo's the cash cow now, so with his 1,000 views a day, it's absolutely fantastic. So, and I guess people, is it that they want to watch a man's life fall apart and crumble?
They like it
right in front of their eyes. I mean, this turkey and liver sandwich. My God, where does he come up with this stuff? I mean, can you trust a guy that would have a turkey and liver sandwich by design as your food critic? That's an interesting question.
The problem is we're trusting him to be the guy that tells us what's good and not good to eat, and then he has really weird eating habits. Like now,
very strange.
But like the way he eats it is freaking disgusting half the time. Like,
you're figuring the food critic is gonna, just take a small little, piece, cut it, maybe dip it in a little sauce there, eat it in a very dainty fashion, pinkies up. You're not figuring it's going to look like some bus driver that only had 5 minutes to eat a cheeseburger because he stopped in the middle of the street to go to some stand there on, La Cienega Boulevard or something.
That's how he eats. That is exactly the guy that's like shit.
And he got the double chili cheese. And shoveling that in with some French fries that eats like Joey Chestnut and then gargles it all down with a Coke.
Oh my
Unbelievable.
God. Exactly how he eats.
Yeah, like he was at the car wash. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Top Part Raw Bar today. And Nikki Mohan is fantastic, so you'll love her. She's going to be on the show. I'll pop in there from the house here. That'll be good because it'll help me. We have we're going to an early concert tonight. Actually, Mayo's involved here with the great Joe Casal. Now, will Casal spend the entire time that this guy is playing at the Funky Biscuit complaining about the Yankees? I'm not sure.
I don't know that well, but I would say probably. The Yankee fans seem to do that.
Boy, are they upset. That's a couple of good questions. Would you bring Brian Cashman back if you were the Yankees, if you were Hal Steinbrenner? Would you bring this guy back? Hasn't had a title since 2009. Has had every asset to work with. This isn't like some guy that's trying to, make chicken salad out of chicken shit, the old Gary Stevens thing. This is a guy that's had every available asset and opportunity, to go after any conceivable player that he was thinking would help the roster. Mm-hmm. He got a bunch of guys at the trade deadline. Everybody was singing his praises. I think of the 6 guys he got, 4 were injured. And, only one guy really made a meaningful contribution, and that was Bader, who got to the playoffs there and got hot after shaking off. And this struck me the other day because I was having a little issue with my heel. How do any NBA players play NBA basketball with plantar fasciitis?
I don't think they do. I think that's one of those lingering ones that you don't do shit on. That's supposedly rough.
There would be no way that you could run up and down the court at an NBA pace with even the slightest shred or semblance of plantar fasciitis affecting you. None. Unless you were so juiced with cortisone that you couldn't even feel your leg, whichever foot was being affected by it.
Exactly.
There's just no way, because I had it once, and literally it was torture to try and run. You couldn't take a running step. It felt like the bottom of your foot was going to peel off. It really did. And the only thing that can possibly help it is you can jack it with cortisone, but then that wears off. Unfortunately,
it's like you're not healing it. Like you're just numbing it.
Yeah. Or you can do therapy, which involves a lot of time there because it's not an easy thing to get rid of. But there's no way that you could play. So when you're considering, oh wow, he's got plantar fasciitis, what a wimp, he's going to sit down.
No, you don't play on that.
I have nothing but sympathy for those players. All right, we're coming back with more. Tony's going to join us in a few minutes, and we'll get into some of this stuff. There was an article by Dennis Dodd on CBS Sportsline talking about how money can't buy you love necessarily in college football. He's a great college football writer. We've had him on the show many, many times. And probably should address this again because who was mentioned most prominently was your boy Ruiz and Mario Cristobal.
I would say Cristobal and Fisher. Right now, Cristobal and Fisher are the poster children.
And Texas. Texas also was thrown in.
Same thing, too, because they've actually done a ton when it comes to NIL. They've recruited well.
Yeah.
And they're still going to lose 3 or 4 games this year.
Now, are we reading this all wrong? And we'll get into this with Tony because Tony's platform is going to be that hey, it's all going to be okay, which and you would hope that he's right.
I mean,
But
maybe.
you don't be rooting against a guy. Now Mario got $80 million to come here. What was that? 10 years, 80 million,
Yes.
something like that.
And he has one of the highest paid staffs in the country.
Correct. So you would think this that even if Manny Diaz, had a roster full of just subpar players by any standard, that they would get better just because they had better coaching. Correct? Is that not a fair assumption? That just by the fact that Mario Cristobal was this, outstanding head coach, as demonstrated by his years at Oregon, which I don't know that he fully demonstrated that. He's not in the Saban
No.
category. I don't even know if he's Lane Kiffin, Mario Cristobal.
He's good at discipline and recruiting. That's his calling cards. Look,
and he's a good guy. He seems to deliver a very positive message. Does he not?
Oregon was in a better place when he left than when he got there. That is 100% true. But the way they're playing this year under Lanning, not the way they play under Cristobal. Like, it's just not.
No.
Bo Nix
all of a sudden they're a dynamo.
But we saw Bo Nix at Auburn. Bo Nix wasn't doing this at Auburn. So whatever it is, the combination, the Pac-12 sucks. They don't play defense, whatever you want to call it. That may be all true. But Oregon with Dan Lanning, Bo Nix with Dan Lanning is very different than their past stops. Whereas Wham with Mario Cristobal, Tyler Van Dyke with Mario Cristobal, look worse. And I get it. Year one, that's fine. It's still $80 million for a program that doesn't spend. That's my hang-up with this whole thing.
Jake Garcia, the backup cornerback,
he was a big dude, and he sucks.
Name, image, and likeness thing for $145,000 for 2 years with this Ruiz guy, the billionaire benefactor of the football program, who is saying that everything is cool. Don't worry about a thing. He's very much on the same page as Tony.
Ruiz, what I love about when FSU was 0-4 last year, you didn't see me crowing. It's hard to crow when your team looks like ass. I give Cane fans credit. They don't give a shit. Like, they'll both bitch about their team themselves, but the minute you say anything, say, you have no idea, we're coming. It's like, dude, you've gotten annihilated by two teams that shouldn't annihilate you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, just shut up and wait. Like, Ruiz is crowing all over the place. Like, dude, you spent all this money talking all this shit, and none of it's worked out. Maybe it'll take 3 years, but right now it doesn't look good. Like, that's just
they're 3-4 in 3 out of the last 4 years.
Well, their schedule sucked. Well, that's
the Hurricanes.
They're 3-4 this year, and they haven't played anyone. They're one game with A&M, who's worse. That's the problem. Is like these fans will make fun of FSU. FSU has like a top 5 strength of schedule. They faced 4 ranked teams, FSU, and beat one of them, and could have been the other 3. Like, UM. You're not even.
No, it's been absolutely a bitter disappointment to this point. There's no doubt about it. I don't think you could look at it any other way. You would think that the team would come out sharp, and they either have like an inordinate number of penalties or just stupid bozoic plays. The fact that Tyler Van Dyke has been benched. I don't know if he's coming back to start this next game, but Jake Garcia, I guess at $145,000 for 2 years. You might want to use the guy. Bryce Young's deal is $2 million at Alabama. $2 million. Name and image and likeness.
At Texas is getting. I think he got $4 million at Ohio State. I think he's getting $6 at Texas.
That's wild, isn't it?
More than NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah. And no, I mean, and the point of Don's article was that money doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to become an elite program again. And that these programs, Texas A&M, University of Miami, and to a lesser degree, I guess Texas is having a little bit better season, or has represented themselves in a more positive fashion than these two schools have. But all 3 were all in on name, image, and likeness, spending a lot of money. They have high-profile coaches, although Sarkisian was coming from a perspective of where he was bouncing back from a previous disgrace. So, I don't know that, he was as illustrious a hire as, Jimbo moving from Florida State, where they loved him, to Texas A&M for big money, oil money, and then Mario coming for $80 million to the University of Miami that never sniffed that category before when it came to paying a head coach. But you would think that if these coaches were worth the money, that they could take, even a bunch of schleps and coach them up a little bit, no?
Look what the problem is for coaches like that is looking at Lane Kiffin, looking at Josh Heupel, and looking at Lincoln Riley. That's the problem, because those 3 coaches in year 1 came in and they had money. They had NIL. All 3 of those coaches had NIL, but they took advantage of it and used the transfer portal. Said, "Look, I know because of this attention on me, I need to do something right now where I'm going to hear it." And look, it might not be a long last. The transfer portal is a weird thing because it might not be long lasting. But a lot of the time, you got to have quick success now, or people are going to do what we're doing to Mario. Mario's trying to. He did all the same things they did. He did a lot in the transfer portal.
Now, is it unfair to judge this guy though until you get to next year? I mean,
well, it's unfair.
I didn't figure this year was going to be a free pass for Mario Cristobal. I did not.
It should take Segreto's not wrong in the sense that it should take 3 years to overturn talent, right? Like if he's asking for them to be disciplined, and these are just players that are from a different regime and aren't disciplined, he can scream and yell and blow whistles and do whatever the hell he wants. It takes time to cycle them out. But here's the deal: when you get paid like Norvell, you'll get that time. When you get paid $80 million, and the program's used to paying 30, like.
But the team is playing sloppier and more ineffective football than they have at any time in my recollection. Even during the time where Manny Diaz was not deemed to be particularly sharp as a head coach, respected, of course, as his defensive coordinator skills would mandate, but or success record would mandate. But everybody thought he wasn't really fit to be a head coach after a while. That was a clear fact that this guy just was not necessarily at that level head coaching material, that he should have taken a Temple job maybe and schooled himself there. Where he might have been able to build a big resume and then fail in a subsequent stop. And we weren't rooting for his failure. I mean, look, I've been waiting for somebody to succeed in this spot for a long time. And any of the guys, I would have been happy. Hey, if Al Golden had turned out to be brilliant, great. Randy Shannon, I mean, the local kid makes good. He played for the Dolphins and the Hurricanes. He's a guy that, wasn't exactly the most personable of characters out there that could have been in that spot, and I don't know that they do well not to have somebody who not only is a good ambassador for the program, but also can actually make something happen, make you a believer. Diaz, didn't he do that briefly? Right, they had that big start that one year, and then they fell apart in the final couple of games. They got shellacked by Notre Dame and one other team, and then they lost in the bowl game.
FIU year, which actually looks interesting. And FIU was dominating the crap out of them. Like it was just he couldn't finish the seasons. He finished every year rough.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line of the article was that the money can't buy you love necessarily.
100%.
That that there's much more to it on the big time college football stage than to just spend money. Yep. And if your program has been mediocre to poor, or is mired in so-called mediocrity, as the Canes have been for the last 20 years, and Texas A&M. And that doesn't necessarily cleanse all of the things that are wrong with the program just because you spent a bunch of money on a head coach and are paying players because you found some booster that has an endless stream of cash, which the Hurricanes apparently have. Where's Nevin Shapiro on all of this? Did he ever get out of the slammer, Shapiro? Is he out on bail or, not bail, but parole?
He got out years ago. I think he got out years ago, yeah.
Oh, okay. What's he doing now, man? Is he around the program?
I don't think so. No.
Does he work for Ruiz? Where is this guy? No, all right, we're coming back with more. Tony Segreto, and there'll be a lot to discuss with Tony. He's a diehard Yankee fan also. So
tough time for this.
I don't know that he was crushed by this. I don't think Tony has the kind of emotional attachment to, Yankee baseball. Maybe it's because he was a journalist for so many years and had to at least feign like look, everybody roots for somebody, right? I mean, so, if you're saying to a guy, hey, listen, you have to be completely balanced in your coverage, you could try and do that, but it doesn't mean that you can't also have a rooting interest in one of the teams, correct? I mean, you might be talking about the Marlins, which we barely touched on this Skip Schumacher guy. Do you know anything about him? I actually, looking at his resume.
You're attached to the Cardinals. I don't mind that because they seem to, like we talk about.
Great name for a manager, Skip Schumacher.
I actually have heard the name. So either he's been a manager before, or they reference him.
No, he was never a manager before. He has been a coach with the Padres and also the Cardinals. He was a bench coach with the Cardinals, a well-respected organization. He was a long time. He's the kind of guy that might fit the prototype.
Yes.
Of a guy that could be successful in this spot. A guy that was a long-time utility infielder.
Yep.
And, was in the bigs. He won a World Series as a player with the Cardinals. Was involved. I don't know how much respect people had for the Padres organization in that period of time.
I know him as a player. That's what it is.
Yeah. And, and now he's been, sitting there. The Cardinals always seem to overachieve for, the payroll that they have. I mean, I think they're like mid-pack in terms of payroll, but they always seem to be successful, the St. Louis Cardinals. So that kind of organizational background and being a part of that may be an asset to this guy. He was only like 42 years old, and, he gets his first shot. This was a position that other guys that had managerial experience wanted no part of. So that might be a good hire. Let's hope it works out. Skip Schumacher. It's a great thing. I mean, Glenn Geffner must be having an orgasm thinking, how many times this year is he going to say, okay, the skipper, Skip Schumacher, coming out to the mound there. And it looks like he's going to leave Alcantara in. He's going to give him one more hitter here. And the ace deserves that. Skip Schumacher.
Feels like an old school name, man. I love Matt. We love Mattingly, but Skip Schumacher feels like a guy who's managing in the 1950s. Hey, and like you're going complete game where he's calling you a pussy. Like that's what Skip Schumacher.
Yeah, he's like Dal Maxwell reincarnated. This guy. Did Maxwell ever manage? He was a longtime utility infielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. All right, we're coming back with more. Tony Segreto is going to join us, and we'll see how he feels about a variety of different things here that we've discussed on the program. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie. Lubitz later on, Southport Raw Bar. Mike Mayo makes another appearance, this time with Nicky Mohan. I'm going to be on the sidelines for this one, but Lubie's going to be out there as well. It just means more food for you to eat, Lubie. Although I try not to overindulge in that, but I couldn't help eating some of that stuff yesterday at Grandpa's. That Kanish was calling my name, man. Calling my name from the last time we were there. I actually thought about driving down there on my own to pick up a couple. They were not good. So a lot of good food being consumed there on Mike Mayo's lunchbox. I don't know how much information you're getting, but I think today with Nicky, that may balance out, right? Between Mayo shoveling oysters in his face and Nicky Mohan. Oh, no, Nicky dives right in. That's what I love about her.
She's not disgusting about it. She's active.
Yeah.
She's classy. Whereas Mayo acts like he's in the orphanage. And
yes.
only getting that. And whoever gets to it first is the only ones that's going to get it. So he makes sure he gets his. It's like, it's a little weird.
It's like you just threw a cheeseburger into a tent there on one of those homeless rows.
Afraid or whatever.
And the guy comes out, and just he's so thankful, but he hasn't eaten in days. Like when Papillon, if you threw him like a bowl of soup. It's unbelievable. After like 17 years in solitary. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Tony Segreto going to join us. We'll go old school, and we'll have that for you in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:03.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Now, welcome back to the show on this fine Wednesday morning. Always good to get to this part of the program here as we welcome in on the Defo Show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, the great one himself, still wearing his Yankee hat. That's very noble of you. The great Tony Segreto, legendary broadcaster, joins us here on the program. And
Your mic
Tony,
on.
your mic might not be on. Your mouth
right
is moving,
mic's
and no
connected.
sound is coming out. So flip a switch there somewhere if you can, and hopefully tap the microphone. You got to go. Are we on? Nothing. Nothing there. Okay, we can't hear you. Now, this has happened before with Tony, where he bought the wrong piece of equipment, and it looks like he's back in his digs in Vermont there with his stated purpose of freezing himself. And as long as the screen isn't freezing, I think we're okay. But I don't know, Tony. We can't hear a word you're saying, so we may have to punt and try another approach. What do you think, Lubie? There you go.
On the phone, Ed's supposed to be video, so we could get him on the phone and have Ed on video. But
okay, what do you think? Did he forgot to bring that one? It's always one small wire that you. That was the problem last time. Remember, Mike Lubie with Tony, and we love Tony.
He had issues last week. He was good. This week, I guess he's having issues. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll figure that out. And Tony's appearance here on the program brought to you by Texas. His disappearance on the program is brought to you by Texas Roadhouse and Catholic Health Services. Nothing? No, we cannot hear you now. You could say, we're hearing some rumblings there. Possibly. Juice that up a little bit, whatever the sound is, and we may have it. And all of this production takes place on the air, which is great.
That's what you want.
Nothing. No. It's a zero. It's a scratch.
And then we'll figure out
okay. Well, we'll figure out some way to bring you Tony Segreto here in just a few minutes. I don't know. I mean, do you think it's unfair, Libby? Fans always have a knee-jerk reaction to everything, but I thought it was interesting because Dennis Dodd was saying, and a well-respected college football writer, that look, you're not necessarily changing anything by just pushing all in with capital. What other things really need to be in place? I mean, if you were a player now, and it used to be true of the University of Miami, where they would get to pick a guy from California or here or there that was a top-notch 5-star recruit because, and that wasn't the way that they built the program. They built it by having excellent insight into what players had talent that fit the MO of the type of guy they wanted in the program, and B, they also made adjustments with that player once he got to their roster, and frequently had transformational position changes that you wouldn't have expected. You wouldn't have expected Jim Kelly to go from linebacker to quarterback, but that's what he did. Alonzo Highsmith ended up being a running back after playing defensive end in high school and being recruited because he was a stud at that position. And Jimmy Johnson had a way of doing things following in Howard's footsteps. Howard was great as an innovator in that regard of getting guys to change positions and then also being able to spot the right guy, even when he had guys that looked much more like the prototype, as was the case when he selected Bernie Kosar as the starting quarterback in their original championship year, when he had a strapping stud of a QB in Vinny Testaverde and a guy who was already somewhat battle-tested and held himself, and acquitted himself very well in Kyle Vanderwen. They're both on the roster, and in sort of a surprise at the last minute, in a three-way open competition for the quarterback starting job, he goes, we've decided to go with the young man from Boardman, Ohio, Bernie Kosar has shown the kind of aptitude for the position that we don't necessarily see come along every day. So he's got a guy that throws like Dan Quisenberry, Kent Colvey, a submarine ball, who has feet that look like surfboards and runs like Ichabod Crane. And he picks that guy over two guys, I mean, that look like classic drop-back passers, and turns out great. But that's part of coaching ingenuity and acumen, and it's funny because you would expect some of that to be in play with any coach who was worth $8 million a year. And not to condemn Mario Cristobal, next year they may run the table and be back in a national championship picture. That'd be fine. But we'll try to figure out if any of those circumstances will take place with Mario. Is it fair to just jump on the pile now and say that so far it's Bustology 101 when you're sitting there at 3-4. But we do want to get the perspective. Tony tends to be a little bit of sort of Vaseline on the scab. Just a guy that is more likely. And is there any chance, Tony? Hey, all right.
Oh, that's.
We can hear you.
And make sure the
nod yes if
we
you
hear you. We hear you.
You
Yes.
hear me. Okay.
Do we need the questions? Do you need the questions, Tony?
I'll go back to audio.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So it's looking good here. We might be able to bring in Tony Segreto here in short order. I mean, a handsome face. There's no question about it. And we can hear him, but he has no idea what we're saying. And no, he isn't frozen. He's just stunned.
He's there. He's had to change his settings. It's like you've learned sometimes.
Yes, it happens. Yeah,
How
no, it's ugly.
Realize
And
it.
This is this is what makes this broadcast so wonderful.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's
Yeah.
a dream.
All right. You work on that, Tony. We'll continue to babble here as and it's great not to be able to get the response. Can we just type in the question?
You can't hear me.
We hear you.
We hear you fine.
You hear me, but I can't hear you.
All right. Well, I will type a question for you. What do you think? Here it is. I'm writing it on a chat line with Tony. What do you think of the UM situation, Tony? This is going to be the question here, as we now have like a court reporter reading the testimony back. There it is. Just we're teeing one up here for you, Tony. He's still mystified.
Okay. Now, how's that?
We hear you.
You're good. Can you hear me? Yay! All right.
I felt like
I just put one on one of those giant T's for you here. I gave you a nice general platform because I was talking about this article.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you, Tony? You all right?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic.
Move the mic
You
closer.
look good.
The mic, it's quieter today for some reasons.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and we worked out all the kinks here on the fly with the great Tony Segreto. Just in time, too. Just in time.
There you go.
How are you, Tony? You all right, kid?
I'm doing great. I am doing fantastic. Very blessed. Beautiful Vermont day. Very warm for the fall. But we're going to get a nice cold front tonight and get down to the 40s and 30s. So it's always good.
We're not looking forward to that. No, we don't need any part of it. I've been very happy with the weather here. It's been pristine, Tony Segreto. The very reason that we live in Florida all year round and suffer the indignity of having to schwitz your way through the summer is for the kind of weather that we've been getting right now. And you can't have any more of an enjoyable scene. All right, we were talking about, I was mentioning this article I read this morning about, Dennis Dodd. I'm sure you've dealt with him. He's a CBS sports writer for many, many years and does a great job covering college football. We've had him on the shows and always a great discussion. But he was talking about how money can't buy you love on the college football scene. And he singled out 3 teams that have spent big money and got all in on the name, image, and likeness. He mentioned your man Ruiz, which I don't. Why is Ruiz estranged from what seems to be the hierarchy at the University of Miami? Did they embrace this guy or not, Tony? Because you're on the board of directors.
Loudmouth ass.
How does that work? I mean, obviously this guy's infusion of cash can't be hurting the situation.
Hell, yeah, but he's an ass.
I may tell you something, and with the deepest respect.
All right.
I just think it's so easy to sit in your house and look outside the window and see the sun shining and go, you know what? The sun's not shining in my backyard. So I'm going to write an article about the sun not shining in my backyard. It's only shining in my front yard. You know what? It's pretty darn easy right now to pick on these teams that this dude is writing about. Dennis.
No, he's a fair. I have to say, in his defense, he is a very fair-minded reporter. He really is.
Fair-minded or not, if you're not there, if you don't know the inner workings of how this thing is, if you don't know the history, okay, I don't know the other. I'm not going to bother myself reading his article. I mean, that's just the way it is. I am.
You're condemning. I mean, this is one of the real, pure journalists that you could get in college football.
I know what's going on at Miami. I know the situation Mario Cristobal walked into. I knew going in. I was excited because of the excitement that he generated. I think the platform in which he is setting his foundation is strong. I think that we're going to see the outcome of what he's doing in the next 3 or 4 years. I think it's a matter of being patient. This was a disrupted. I mean, this was a broken toy. This football program, a total broken toy. The wheels weren't on. The axle wasn't there. The rudder wasn't there for the ship. Nothing.
Now, was that something that happened over time as a matter of 20-year attrition, or was that Manny Diaz? What was it?
Booker to Golden to Diaz. It was just an ongoing it was like
You left out Randy Shannon.
Randy Shannon.
Guy.
Here's the thing. It's like you have a wound that needs to be stitched, but instead you just keep adding Band-Aids to it. Okay, hoping the Band-Aids will stop the bleeding, and the bleeding doesn't stop. In fact, it gets worse, and then it gets infected. So listen, I'm not dissing the guy. All I'm saying is that unless you totally understand the overall situation of what we're dealing with here, you can't honestly and intelligently write about something. It's easy right now. Who are the other two schools he was picking?
Texas A&M is like 3-4, 3 of the last 4 years with Jimbo now making big money as a coach. Same kind of scenario. They probably spent more money on name, image, and likeness than even Ruiz in Miami. And they brought in a high-profile coach, and they are further into it. Obviously, Cristobal.
What was the
Texas with Sarkisian, and they're all in with the capital too.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? I don't know those programs well enough. I know how I feel personally about Jimbo, and I know how I feel about what I know about his history and how he left the Florida State cupboard. I mean, think about that. He left that Florida State cupboard. There wasn't even a can of Campbell soup that was expired in the cupboard, for goodness sake. So that's all I'm saying. Listen, I think it's really easy. There's no reason why Hurricane fans shouldn't be upset. They can be critical if they want, but be critical from a sense of understanding and not be critical, and I think that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that we're 5 games in, 6 games in. Is it looking good? No. Is there reason to be upset? Absolutely be upset. But you know what? You gotta give some people time. The definition of an expert is the guy from the next town. You can't keep changing people and hope you're going to get like an instant result. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. And I'm not being a homer here. I'm just being
there's a little
real. I'm just telling you what I know. I mean, I'm involved in the program. I'm telling you, it's just I'm being a pragmatist.
Well, people could be deluding themselves also. I mean, with all of these platitudes. With the consistency, with the Marlins naming a new manager, I didn't realize this. You know how many managers they've had in their 29 years of existence? The Miami Marlins. 29 years as a franchise. Okay. You would think what would be a normal number? 5, 6?
Yeah, I'm guessing they've had 11 or 12.
20.
This is the 16th manager they've had.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I would say. They're a joke.
And Mattingly was there for a while, and you also had Jimmy Leland there for several years. But this is their 16th manager. I maybe they're counting like Cookie Rojas, who managed 2 games, but
I'm sure.
Overall, 16 managers in 29 years. And you come back to that line in the Rocky movie from Mick. You can't win, Rock.
So listen,
you can't win this way.
I'm going to respond to Andrew Peters here. He goes, bro, they lost by 20. You're darn right they lost by 20. It was embarrassing. How do you have 8 turnovers in a game? You're damn right. There's no sugarcoating it. They got their ass kicked. They were embarrassing. It was embarrassing to watch. It was embarrassing for the fans that actually showed up. It's embarrassing.
What, against Alabama? Oh, no, that was Duke.
Against Duke. There's a lot to be done. I'm not sugarcoating anything. But I'm not saying, are we throwing the towel in on Mario Diaz?
No, I don't think so.
Already? Well, that's the suggestion that people are throwing out. It's like, come on.
I don't know that this was being suggested.
You need time. It needs time. Jimbo Fisher, I think, is another case. Jimbo, his track record. Mario's been to different programs and has resurrected them and brought them back. Look at what he left at Oregon. I mean, Oregon is coming on strong. They could back into this Final Four if things play out right. Well, so all I'm saying is it's pretty darn easy to sit back and criticize. It's real easy to do that. Is it easy? Is it harder to kind of really look and see what's underlying, what the problem is? These are guys. Some of these guys need to be weeded out and wait until Mario get his guys in. Hopefully, we have time for that. That's just my sense.
Here's a guy that's not worried about any of that, Tony, and it's funny too because nobody comes under more scrutiny every year, coming in or out of a season than Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and now he's got Michigan in the picture, for the national championship. And while they were doubters as they were playing various patsies to open the season in their first 6 games. Those doubters, are now believers. And this man believed all along. Ed Garcia, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, joins us here on the show. Giant Michigan fan. Ed, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. How are you?
Is that Michigan State green? Is that a Michigan State green shirt you're wearing?
This is the only day I represent them, and it's a 2-part piece. Okay, Wednesday starts our fiscal week, and we want to be about green. Green is up in sales, up in guests, and winning. So that's the only tribute they will get.
Well, your daughter's there, right? So your money's going there. I mean, you should have some.
100%. I donate quite a bit to that university.
Oh yeah, well, this should be a really good one. This is a 7:30 game, night game in Ann Arbor. People are going to be pretty well juiced up for this one, especially seeing that it's Michigan State. Are you going to be at that game?
Absolutely.
Oh wow!
This will be my first night game ever. I mean, they just put in the night lights probably about 10, 12 years ago. And so I am super excited. I just haven't had the opportunity. They only do, maybe 1 or 2 a year. So this is going to be quite a treat.
Yeah.
What's the tailgating like, for these Michigan games, especially one at night?
I'm I'll tell you, you call me around 7:30. I don't know who you're going to get, but
I would imagine it's a massive effort out there with food and beverages.
Me and Jim Harbaugh have the same plan, and we got to just pace. And pace. Betty will win the game. So that's my goal on Saturday. But the parking lot opens up at noon.
Noon.
I hope to get a smart call. Yes. I rented a Sprinter van. It's a 20-foot van. Comes with electronics, a TV, and what's most important, a bathroom. So,
wow.
Good for
you. So I do not have to wait at the porta potties as the day goes on. But
never a favorable experience.
Now, because it's Ed Garcia, dare I ask, is Texas Roadhouse catering your tailgate?
Is there anything else?
Actually, there is a tailgate party opening up right around the corner with one of our fellow vendors.
Nice.
It's a phenomenal beer company, and they have graciously invited myself and friends to partake in the excitement.
What's the beer company?
Sam Adams.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Can't beat Sam, man. Can't beat Sam.
And I'll tell you, but they sponsor Michigan State. But what's really cool, it's actually Sam Adams and Twisted Tea. And I was talking to the guy that started Twisted Tea, because normally I'm at the cocktail party this weekend up in Jacksonville for Georgia, Florida. And if you've never seen Twisted Tea, their colors, what I think are maize and blue and maize and gold. And so I was telling him, hey, next year, why don't you come to Michigan? He's like, great idea. So I don't know if he'll be there, but his party's going to be there. That's for sure. So I'm pretty excited about that.
All right.
Well, with all of that in mind, let's talk about Texas Roadhouse a little bit.
The man knows how to live, Tony. The man knows how to live.
Work hard, play hard. Work hard, play hard, folks.
Wow, nice.
Here's the thing. He knows how to live because Texas Roadhouse stands for that, because they help people come into their restaurant and teach them how to live, and you treat every patron with respect. The service is unmatched, and to be able to keep up that pace, especially this time of year, we got World Series starting on Friday. We got all the college football. We have Thursday night football, Monday night football, Sunday night football. My goodness gracious, you can't escape it. So how do you keep the energy up with your staff?
Well, it's all about the people. And, our founder, Kent Taylor, talks a lot about, we may sell a lot of steaks, but we are a people company, and that's the most important thing. So, I'll even tell you this. Yesterday was, Monday, we raised all the restaurants in Florida, donated every single profit to the Volunteer Florida Foundation, which is supporting all the hurricane victims. And I'm proud to say we raised $63,000. And then our office up in Louisville, Kentucky, donated another $7 to make it a flat 70. So very proud to present that check. And I think that's when you work for a place that feels good, the energy's there. It's really cool. A lot of our employees wear these shirts that say, I love my job. And people ask them, do you really love your job? And they're like, absolutely. And we try to make it a point every single shift to have fun, to have a contest. And what's most important is we make it competitive. And that's what makes it fun. Who doesn't like some good competition, right? That's why we're all here.
I talked to the CEO of the company that actually does your payroll and asked him about, the culture of that company. And he says something quite interesting. I want to see if this works with you guys, that you have your own ecosystem where if there's someone on the waitstaff that doesn't toe the line and doesn't buy into what everybody else is feeling, that waitstaff will weed them out. You're not going to have to worry about doing that because it's going to hurt the culture of what Texas Roadhouse stands for.
We welcome everybody with open arms. This is one of my philosophies. When you come on board with Texas Roadhouse, you're part of the family. Where sometimes in other cultures you have to earn your way in. You're already part of the culture and part of the family. But the only way out is you lose it, you ruin it. And that's that, and that's how it happens at Texas Roadhouse.
Well, we hear about the ribs, we hear about the steaks. I want to tell you something. I have not had a better burger than when I have a Texas Roadhouse. So keep that in mind, especially as we get ready for football season. And would you please send Defo and Lubie some sweet potatoes?
Absolutely.
Would you please do that? Please.
Yes.
Do that.
We still have to arrange this lunch.
Little honey cinnamon caramel sauce, no problem at all.
Yeah.
And as again, a consistent tribute to Texas Roadhouse, this Let's Eat South Florida, the Mayo Facebook page with the Sun Sentinel that has 91,000 Broward subscribers subscribers, almost all of them in Broward. And again, somebody posted about Texas Roadhouse being their favorite place. I think they went to the Coconut Creek location, and they put some pictures up of the steaks. And once again, this was a thread that created well over 100 comments, which is usually an indication that it was widely respected and viewed, and a unanimous decision. Everybody loves the place. It's very unusual for this to happen, on one of these kind of. It's not like it's Yelp or anything like that, but very honest opinions from people and a lot of critical people. Texas Roadhouse, just always gets rave reviews all the way through. It really is a tribute to what you guys are doing.
That's a great point, Defo. And Ed, this is a pretty smart idea to join these two forces together. You and us. Texas Roadhouse and this show. This is fortuitous for all of us.
Absolutely. It's all about winning. And we appreciate all the love and the feedback. We're not perfect all the time. We don't see perfect records, the Dolphins in 1972, which was what an amazing feat. But we love our people, we love our guests, and we love that people give us a chance and see what Texas Roadhouse is all about.
People love you, man. They really do. I don't know if you're familiar with that page, Let's Eat South Florida. Check it out on Facebook, Ed, and
absolutely.
Just search the Texas Roadhouse. The opinions on the fantastic. Really universally loved. So, congratulations on all of that. Thanks for being with us, Ed. Good luck at the game.
Yeah, we want to see some tailgate pictures next week. So,
absolutely.
And don't forget, wear that one green sock for your daughter. You can't let her down. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Defo, I got to tell you something. God bless Michael Mayo. I know sometimes we give him a hard time. But
he's an interesting guy.
Think about how he's resurrected his life. He was a great sports writer, then he was an opinion writer, and now he's created this whole niche for himself that's worked out beautifully.
I'm not sure it's good for him, though. He's making some cash and all of that, and he's gaining some notoriety. And he has groupies now coming to some of our events. Like,
oh my goodness!
All of a sudden, there'll be like, some young attractive female.
Oh, it happened yesterday. You missed it. Some lady.
Oh, yeah.
Young, but she was an attractive.
That wasn't the lady in the golf outfit that was hovering over him. Okay.
Yes. The lady who was the entire
she came there from Mayo? Oh, my God.
As you had left, I was leaving. She's like, "Are you Michael Mayo?"
They love him. He doesn't know how to react yet. Because, you had this kind of adulation when you were a big TV star. I know you were happily married during that time and were able to shrug this off with dignity. But Mayo is sort of being blindsided by this, affection that is just steamrolling its way.
Crazy. It's
from
crazy,
the distaff
right?
set. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember some stories. My goodness gracious! I remember I got a note from a woman who said, "I love your ties. Can you please tell me so I can get them for my husband?" Just stuff like that. It's like weird. But
letters come to your house. You have no idea how people got your address.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy, yeah. But Mayo's inexperienced in this, and he's finding it now as a matter of routine. Like if we announce where we're showing up, I guarantee at least one. I don't want to label these women as groupies. It seems, like an unfair, scathing indictment. But they're only coming out there because Mayo is there, and there's an attraction. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. Maybe it's because of the way he writes about food in such romantic style. But you would never know it was the same guy, Tony, if you saw this guy eat. And I don't know that you've ever in your lifetime gone into a restaurant,
Yeah, I
a
heard.
great place, and ordered a turkey and liver sandwich. That's
Chopped
like peanut butter and jellyfish. What are you talking about?
What? Wait a minute.
Turkey and
chopped
liver.
chopped
Liver?
liver. Not
Liver.
the actual, like the liver, chopped liver.
Oh,
Imagine
from the
ordering that.
turkey. Well, I get that. I get. I
Wait,
thought
you
you
get
meant
that?
I thought you meant like liver. Well, listen.
Tony, you're Italian.
Listen,
You would
hold on,
absolutely
hold
you'd
on,
throw
hold
up.
on a second. When I was growing up, and Jeff, you have to attest to this. When I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, again, my God bless my parents. They provided for us in a beautiful way. But we were scraping stuff together. We were lower to middle class, and my parents, we never wasted anything. So my mother would always roast an entire chicken, and my mother loved, and my father loved the gizzard and the liver and the neck and
true.
all of those things. So if he's using that on top of the turkey sandwich, if this is the liver because my mother used to make liver on Thursday night with onions, which was
this wasn't liver and onions type
the
of
Jewish
liver.
delicacy,
Chopped liver.
You spread it out.
That chopped liver.
Chopped liver with chunk
In a turkey sandwich. One or the other, right? You make a decision.
Now,
He's like
what
Mike
kind of-
McDaniel not going for that field goal.
What kind of bread? What kind of bread?
Rye bread, not toasted.
It's got to be rye bread.
Dry rye bread.
Yeah.
With a giant onion on it and a tomato, and this guy takes the thing literally like he was
His
John
stomach's gotta be
Cena
doing-
about to eat a turnbuckle,
Right? Hey, Jeff.
like he was
Jeff.
Killer Kowalski.
Jeff, his stomach is like this, going, no, not again, not
Stomach.
again.
I mean, who wanted to be sitting next to the guy? Are you kidding me? For an hour, we were stuck there.
There was have you ever heard of the points guy?
Points guy.
Yeah, the points
well,
guy.
I had many guys that were known as the points man.
Kind of in your world, but this is the guy who teaches you how to maximize your points, whether it's from your credit card or your airline points.
But that'll be a good thing for me to.
So there's the guy called the points guy is legit. He's brilliant, and he's helped so many people. But there are a lot of knockoffs. There's one guy who wrote this story about what turns people off on when you sit next to him on an airplane.
Yeah.
And one of the top two things was too much cologne or you had just had an onion.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've told the story many times when I was covering USC football, always at the Coliseum, and the Rams also played there. And the guy that had the seat next to me, I had the seat right by the window. I mean, we were in a very prominent news organization, the Ontario Daily Distort, we called it. It was the Daily Report. And the motto was yesterday's news tomorrow. So we were kind of relegated to the last seat against the glass by the 10-yard line. It was a long press box that stretched all the way the entire field. And I was next to the Onion Man. All right. So what they had there, they had the greatest hot dogs I've ever had in any press box. They were like Dodger dogs, and you were getting them at the Coliseum. And they had the giant thing of onions, the chopped onions.
Yeah.
And the Onion Man used to take the lid off. He didn't even just punch a few down there and dump the whole thing of onions on his plate.
Oh.
So, I mean, the whole press box reeked, but I was next to this guy. And, you came close to passing out. I needed like Lou Duva in my corner.
Oh, my Lord.
Just to keep me awake. What, was that a touchdown? I don't know. I was seeing fumes.
Did you have smelling salts in your pocket? I mean, you just kept breaking
I was young and I was able to tolerate more, of other people's bullshit. But
so here's the question. I love hot
Man.
dogs. I love hot dogs. Best hot dog you've ever had, and what do you put on your dog, Defo?
Me, it varies, but in general now, I like Gulden's mustard, some kind of spicy brown mustard, onions, and not to the extreme of the Onion Man, but, a modest amount of chopped onions is always nice, or grilled onions, even better. But chopped onions good, and a little bit of relish. That's it.
Lubie?
That's me on a hot dog.
Devo makes fun of me because I'm more Gentile in my regards. I like spicy mustard, a little bit of ketchup. I am new school. I'm not old school. A little bit of ketchup.
I almost spit my coffee there.
Relish, sauerkraut.
You said ketchup.
Was my go-to.
Yeah,
Sauerkraut's a good thing, too. That's kind of a
Yeah.
New York thing that
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't practice anymore,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, how about you, Tony?
I'm a mustard relish guy, just simple
Okay.
mustard relish. But I will tell you this: I remember again. I bring my parents up. Gosh Almighty, my mom and dad loved hot dogs, and they would go once a week to Lum's in South Florida.
Lum's was great, man.
Was very famous. The beer, the hot dogs steamed in beer, and comes with a big bowl of sauerkraut, and then you do your stuff. But the best dog I've ever had is the guy who owns a food truck right outside the Waldorf Astoria in New York.
I love it.
He is
Dogs.
he
Those
is
are my
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible dog.
I like those
Incredible
dirty
dog.
water dogs, though.
Dirty
you
water
know,
dogs are
where
my favorite hot dog.
yes, the guy where he got the water from, and he said, "I just fished it out of the Hudson River." And this hot dog's been sitting there since the guy got there at 6 a.m.
Oh,
You know, and he's got the gloves on. That looks like he just changed the oil in his car, and you know, he's slopping the mustard on with a stick.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I have a feeling the way the Yankees played, they got a lot of leftover hot dogs, man.
The
What a
hot
shame.
dogs, I mean, were exquisite though in the press box at the L.A. Coliseum. Absolutely,
Oh, really?
And they served the same hot dogs at the Olympic Auditorium, just as good, man. It was unreal. So you know, any night, those Thursday nights, I was going to see boxing every Thursday. Always a hot dog, you know, was part of the fanfare there.
Right,
And they were
right.
cheap, too. I mean, by ballpark standards. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to come back with more. All right, so we're going to leave this thing till next year then, Tony. I did not expect, though, in all fairness, this to be just kind of a, you know, shrug your shoulders and write it off kind of season. I thought we would see some market improvement from this team. I really did. I have to say that.
Well, I don't blame you. I think we all did. I did, too. I really did. And then, you know, I just look at things a little differently, and I know I tend to be, you know, sometimes probably maybe a little more positive.
Mayo makes fun of you with the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I know.
He'll put them on. He'll put a Yankee hat on and channel his inner Segreto.
That's fine. I would rather live that way than the way most people live. But that's okay.
Right. No,
That's
it's good
really
to see
okay.
the bright side of things.
Yeah, but that's okay. But here's the thing: I'm also a realist, and I'm as disappointed and as upset and as frustrated as every fan. But I also take a look and go, okay, there's a reason for this. I believe in Mario Diaz. I believe in what he's doing. He's track record.
Cristobal.
I mean,
Don't
Cristobal.
Make him Diaz. Yeah.
No.
Combining eras.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I love Chris. Yeah, exactly. I love Cristobal. He's got a history where his history is strong, right? With the things that he's done. So there's no reason to believe why he can't make this happen. I just don't think we're. I think people forget, you know, when Tennessee got Josh Heupel, everybody was like, are you kidding me? And look at how long it's taken them 3-4 years to turn it around. And look where they are today. Yeah, look where they are today. I mean, it's a much different setup in the SEC, how you get players than it is what is it, 2 years he's turned it around or 3?
This is his second year.
So, you know, here's how I'm going to judge this.
That's in the SEC, though, and not in a weak ACC
right.
also.
This is how, let's mark this down. It's October 26th. If we can record this show, and we're going to go back and look and listen to this. If there's not a marked improvement by this time next year, a marked improvement. And I'm not saying by record.
Don't tell me you're going to quit the show.
No. I'm not. If there's not a marked improvement, and I'm not saying by record, I'm talking about overall look of this team. Then shame on me for thinking he's going to be able to turn it around, because I think by the middle of next year we should see a marked improvement. If we don't, then we need to start throwing up the flag and going, okay, what the heck is going on here? You know,
it doesn't mean that it can't happen from there, though.
Right? It doesn't. Right.
But we'll see. All right. Yeah. We have to run. We're going to come back. A lot more to talk about. Your Yankees, I mean, are very much in the news in the postseason after getting swept. And, of course, we had that Dolphin game, which had the mystery call by Mike McDaniel, who, is being roundly criticized for, not taking 3 points and taking a 9-point advantage, which obviously was going to put a lot more pressure on the Pittsburgh Steelers from the scoreboard standpoint. The dynamics of football, I don't care. I mean, the math should, be overruled by the fact that, whatever the percentages of making that 4th and 2, just the fact that you're up by, they're going to have 2 possessions to beat you or 3 field goals to tie the game. So that seems like an app. So we'll come back. We'll talk about all of this stuff with Tony Segreto and the World Series on tap also in just a moment. Now that. The time. 8:39. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
A young person at a crossroads in life has an opportunity that otherwise would not be there. A Tony Segreto charity event, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to help young people to find themselves in today's chaotic universe. A noble endeavor through college athletics, hardworking coaches, many hours of practice, many hours cracking the books. There is an answer out there for NCAA athletics. Yes, it does involve the pursuit of virtue. And nobody better to expose that and generate that thought than the great Tony Segreto.
The morning just isn't right without Defo. It's now time for the Defo Show.
Yeah, very Rinaldi-esque there, speaking of Tom Rinaldi. Welcome back to the show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and a very busy Tony Segreto. Is he frozen there, Lubie? That doesn't look good.
Good job by you. Yeah, he's frozen.
He's frozen, yeah. All right. We'll come back with more of Tony Segreto. It's funny, too, because I was going to get into some baseball with Tony, and if we get him back, we'll go ahead and do that. This Skip Schumacher thing, does it not remind you a little bit, Lubie, of the idea of like a Craig Counsell type of hire?
Yes.
Craig Counsell, who, and I have, my Craig Counsell story. The first time I saw or was aware of Craig Counsell, Sonny Hirsch, who was the longtime voice of the Hurricanes, and I got to work with Sonny for several years, and for about 3 seasons, we were traveling on the road with the University of Miami baseball team, which I enjoyed very much. I was always fascinated by, I was hardly fascinating, but fascinated by baseball announcers. Always wanted to be one, and I was getting to call these games, and I really, really enjoyed it. And Sonny was like a legendary guy, and he liked baseball, but what he really liked to do is go to certain locations every year, and he was in charge as the director of sports at WIOD. He was in charge of scheduling what road games we would do with the UM baseball team. We had a contractual obligation at the radio station, which naturally the management, despised. But nonetheless, to get the rights to the Hurricanes, they had made certain concessions, including doing at least a few road baseball games. All right, Tony, you're unfrozen here. We've unlocked, again, the magic of Tony Segreto.
Guys, I apologize. This has been
Don't worry about it, my friend. It happens.
Sure, man.
Watch the lunchbox yesterday. Believe me, from the 30-minute mark on, it's like, so don't worry. It's technology. Yeah. It's fun.
You don't want to sound like a verbal ransom, though. At least you look good, and, you were frozen there. I was telling a story about my first contact or awareness of Craig Counsell, because I think, this the Schumacher guy that got hired by by the Marlins maybe fits a Craig Counsell MO. You can hope, only hope that turns out to be the case, where he turns out to
That's
be
a good comparison. That's
one of
really
these
good
utility
comparison.
infielder guys that was a very good, smart heads-up player, was part of a winning program, and brought whatever he could from that to the table as a manager. Was very relatable and had a lot of success managing the Milwaukee Brewers. But and you work with Sonny, of course, Sonny Hirsch. I was talking about, and. The funniest thing about Sonny was, he always had his own personal agenda that he had to take care of, whether it was, making bets or having somebody run a few bets for him, and this was in advance of being able to just tap it in on your phone. Or, in the case of scheduling the travel schedule for the UM baseball team, he would pick the locations that we would do games where, he had a distinct desire to go. So he wanted to go to, Chicago, and so he scheduled a couple of road games against Notre Dame one year to fulfill our contractual obligation. And the second baseman for the Fighting Irish was Craig Counsell. And that was my first, Craig Counsell awareness. And to tell you the truth, you could see, even as a collegiate ball player in those games, which had a better team than Notre Dame at the time, baseball-wise, but, anything can happen in a baseball game, especially on the road. But Counsell, you could see, was a catalyst in anything that was good that was happening for Notre Dame. So maybe this guy is in that same mode and can sort of impart that same kind of sense of hustle. Because one thing I thought about the Yankees, during that series, they don't hustle.
Yeah, they're
as a team in general, they don't hustle. I mean, they got out hustled by the Houston Astros in that game, in those games.
It was embarrassing. And I heard all the cries that, Aaron Boone gone, regardless. But man, oh man, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's very knowledgeable baseball guy, and he's a Yankee lover like I am, and it was just like, wow, it was. I agree with you. They didn't have hustle. Their bats were empty. There just didn't seem to be any sense of urgency. It was like they were sleepwalking. It was incredible. It was incredible. But you mentioned Craig Counsell. When you say things like that, it reminds me of to me, one of the greatest hitting coaches that in my day was Charlie Lau.
Yeah.
Charlie Lau was an amazing hitting coach. He was a 230 hitter. But because he had to work so hard to become a 230 hitter, he understood what it took to be to be a good hitter, especially if you had the talent. And he would take guys that could easily be 300 hitters and made them 310, 320, like it was nothing, and took the guys who were hitting their weight and making them into 230, 250 hitters, enough to keep pitchers honest and scratch out a hit now and again. So I think to your point, I think it could be something good for the Marlins. There's one thing that has to happen. The Marlins have to become relevant. They have to become a conversation piece around the dinner table in South Florida. They're not even a conversation piece at a bar when you've had 10 drinks, 10 drinks too many.
Yeah.
They're not even
and there's probably more interest in the Rays in Tampa.
Yeah.
Who draw nobody. I mean, but at least they put a representative team out there, so maybe that's not a fair comparison, because they're always pretty much in the loop.
And I got to tell you, I hope, wish nothing more than for the Phillies to win for a number of reasons, right? I love, if it was
being a Yankee fan, do you hate the Astros?
Oh, the Astros.
Yeah. I don't like the Astros at all. But the Phillies, I love the Phillies. I love what they've done. And again, it's I know he's just sort of like an advisor in this role right now, but the magic of Dave Dombrowski just shows up for a team.
Oh, he's great.
And they win. He just shows up and they win. It's like he puts the tablet in the water or something, because it's remarkable. And I'm so happy for him. I cannot tell you how happy I am for him and Carrie. I talked to Carrie and they're so excited. I just think it's and for those of you who don't know, Carrie Ross, who used to be our weekend, she was the first. I'm not sure if she was the first woman on ESPN, but certainly one of the first.
I think Gail Gardner was the first.
Yeah, you're right. Probably Gail was.
Gail
and then Carrie came and worked for us, and we introduced her to Dave when he was with the Marlins, and they got married. Have two beautiful children.
Every sports fan was in love with Carrie Ross, though, especially from her ESPN days.
Yeah. Oh,
She was
absolutely.
like the first real babe on ESPN, which then that became a pattern.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a
Oklahoma
requirement. Yeah.
went to OU. Her daughter went to OU. Her son went to Vanderbilt. Pitcher. He was drafted, I believe, and just a wonderful, wonderful family. And I'm happy for him. And I hope the Phillies can pull it out. But the Yankees have got to figure out what the heck they need. And first of all, they got to figure out how to keep Judge. And then
Well, what do you think there? See, no, it was interesting because people love to speculate off, just minor, things that are floated out there. Russ Salzberg, a sportscaster out of New York, who you're no doubt familiar with, the guy with the sweaters. And he's a guy that also asked Mike Tyson, why he was in such a foul mood, and then Tyson told him to go fuck himself on TV.
Yeah, I remember.
Which but he's in general a well-respected sports guy. He was always on
he is.
PIX or Channel 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was saying, and I saw a social media post of his that was saying, well, it's interesting that Aaron Judge was kind of thanking Yankee fans for the wonderful time that he had there, as if it was over. Now, I don't know that you can read too much into that. He might have just been saying, "Hey, it's been a great run, and we'll see what happens." But the "we'll see what happens" seemed to imply that we're really going to take a look at other things.
Well, that's what
it might be over, and
I think
supposedly has a big attraction, to San Francisco and the LA Dodgers. That wouldn't be he could be the next John Cena if he signs with the Dodgers. No, movie star.
I tell you what, he owes it to himself to look at other offers. He owes it to himself, and
what was Cashman thinking though with this 213?
Everyone's $400 million, and he offered. Yeah, I mean, that was bad.
I don't know. Let me tell you what, Cashman is going to be under enormous pressure.
I say he comes back, Cashman.
I agree.
Regardless of what happens. I believe Aaron Boone will come back there. The guy that always gets fired is the hitting coach.
I don't know if Aaron
Whoever
Boone's
the hitting coach
gonna
is,
come
he's
back
dead meat. He's dead man walking.
No, the hitting coach always is
fired. I think Aaron is on the edge. I think it could go either way. I'm sort of leaning more toward going.
I think he's
But I cannot imagine that they would let Judge go, especially with I just can't imagine. I can't imagine that. Can you?
You know what? I mean, well, look, it may be not necessarily entirely their decision, right?
He's
already had a little bit of an alienation factor. It didn't necessarily. I don't know that it impacted him too heavily because the guy seems to handle everything so consistently well. But getting booed after a 62 home run season where you hit 311 and knocked in
New York, man,
right? I mean, that might have led to a little bit of an estrangement there with Aaron Judge or a reconsideration about. I mean, look, it's obviously a premium spot. I don't know. Is he a fan of batting leadoff? I'm not sure. He probably would have said something somewhere along the way, but it does seem like a waste to have the 8th and 9th hitters, two light hitting, punch and Judy guys that are up there with a piece of balsa wood preceding Aaron Judge, where now it's very convenient for a pitcher to throw him nothing but garbage. And his walks were vastly increased this year. That was he walked over 100 times. Because there's nothing happening there, right? I mean,
I agree.
Once you get through the lineup the first time, I mean, you're putting him in behind two guys that are very weak.
And we're seeing more and more teams backload their lineup. Their 8 and 9 hitters could maybe be leadoff hitters, but they're trying to space out that lineup so that you don't have to put a guy like Judge in that kind of situation, right? And Aaron did not.
Seems odd to have that guy hitting leadoff.
Here's the thing: and to your point, if you're gonna have him hitting leadoff, then your 8 and 9 hitters better be pretty darn strong. They can't be your 175 guys like in the past. They got to be at least 9. At least 9's got to be a damn good hitter.
I tell you, who doesn't even accept batting .999? These guys are batting 1,000, and that is Catholic Health Services. And they wouldn't have it any other way, right? If they saw the average dip to .999, they would have people all over it to make sure that never happened again, where they slip below 1,000 in terms of satisfaction. And this is obviously, a very important thing when you're, concerned with people's health, including your own.
So I'm going to tell you something flat out. What does Catholic Health Services excel in? What do they other than treating the patient, the rehab. They excel in their communication with the family. Okay. So my wife is home now. She has been with her family for the last couple of months, being the caregiver and everything. And she finally said, okay, I need to go back home for a couple of weeks or a month, whatever the case might be. And the facility that the family is in, it's not nearly what Catholic Health Services is in terms of size, right? There's only 8 beds.
Oh,
but
geez.
the mere fact that they're communicating with my wife every day has made a huge difference in her respect and understanding. And she goes to bed at night, putting her head on the pillow. My point is, at Catholic Health Services in South Florida, which is a lot different than this little itty bitty town that only has 8 beds for this one facility, this is a lot bigger deal. Is it a lot harder to do? But they do it. They do it consistently. They do it 2 or 3 times a day with the family. They not only tell the family what's going on, they include the family in the rehab process so they understand what will need to happen when the loved one gets home if more rehab is needed. And not that they expect them to do the rehab, but just to know what to expect if the loved one pushes back and say, I don't want to do this, or, oh, I forgot what I have to do. They'll know what to do. Because Catholic Health Services is all about making sure you're taken care of both in and out of the facility. If you don't want to go to the facility, let's say, we have a lot of things going on, right? We have the flu now. We have the things that are impacting these young children. We have the new COVID booster. We have a new surge in COVID. Okay, so you don't want to go to the rehab facility. You'd rather stay home. That's fine. Catholic Health Services has all of these amazing people who will come to your home and give you the type of rehab you need to get back on your feet quicker than you could ever have imagined. It's because they're all encompassed into one thing: making the community healthier, making your family healthier and better, and making them get back on their feet, and making them feel at ease when they go to bed at night, understanding that my loved one, my parent, my grandparent, my aunts, uncles, they are being given the best care possible by people who care maybe even more than we could possibly care. And that's what Catholic Health Services is all about.
Well, and they're also, absolutely superb at what they, intend to do, which is get people well.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Put them through the paces of various forms of rehabilitation, including, and we saw this with this Pennsylvania debate. It's not easy to come back from a stroke.
Boy, it sure is.
So you need to make sure you have the right people in place. And we're seeing this a lot with this, concussion protocol stuff where, some of these things are difficult to diagnose, and the right treatment needs to be put in place. And there's nobody better at the nuts and bolts of what they do than Catholic Health Services. And I speak like you do, Tony, from personal experience on that. A night and day difference, people. Spare yourself all of the anxiety that goes along with the frustration of not being able to help somebody, or, in a case of where you're getting treatment yourself. I mean, you want to know what the hell's going on. And Catholic Health Services
do this from the grass.
Yeah.
They do it from grassroots, man. They do it. They take the basics and they make them simple, and they take the difficult and they make it simple. And most importantly, to your point and to our point, every single week, they make a difference in your loved one's life. They make them better, and in many cases, make them better quicker than they could have ever imagined.
All right, Tony, we got a few minutes left here for Old School, but what did you think about the decision? And that would be the Mike McDaniel decision in the third quarter, up 16-10 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a Steeler team that was staggering offensively throughout the season, really didn't have much going. This Kenny Pickett, he may turn out to be a good quarterback. So far, he's having a lot of raw rookie NFL mistakes pop up where you're just not aware that there's another guy that's coming from the other side that's going to get in front of your receiver who's cutting seemingly open over the middle. And that, this is something that you're going to have to do very quickly and dissect. Otherwise, you're going to get picked off. And Pick, I guess, being the first syllable of his last name was appropriate because those picks did him in. But you have a chance to go up. I hate this phrase, like this whole new 2-score game stuff. I don't know where that came from. Being an old school guy, I sort of resent certain things that are now cliche as part of a sports broadcast, and everybody's they couldn't make it a 2-score game. But still, I mean, any scoreboard dynamic tells you that you want to be up 9 points at that juncture. You have a 4th and 2. Whatever the odds are of making it. And what's funny is this comes from a guy, also old school, that I thought coaches were so ultra-conservative in the past about going for 4th downs. It was disgusting. Like it was so weak when they would have like a 4th and a foot at the opposition fifth, right around midfield,
and go like this,
49.
bring in the kicking team,
and they'd punt, and you're like, go for it. But this was a little bit different, and I do think that you wanted to seize control of the dynamic of the scoreboard at that point. What did you think about going for the fourth down there with Mike McDaniel?
Like everybody else, why don't you go for the field goal? You had the crowd into the game, and I'm sure there has to be this little person inside McDaniel, and I'm just guessing that when the game ended, there was this, because maybe in retrospect, it's like, why did I do that?
And won the game?
Easily scored. It was like we're all screaming, everybody's texting me like, what's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing?
Wow,
and I'm
crazy.
going, I wish I knew. I mean, how could you not go for that? And I'm sure that, and the spin is, but if I can dominate that offensive line and I can get this first down, the game's over too. Well,
it was far from over. I mean, there's no guarantee they would have scored a touchdown anyway.
Agreed. So I just can't. There's no. I keep shaking my head. All I know is, thank you God, with that crowd and that
crowd was great, by the way.
Yeah, celebrating the 72
great.
team, that 72 team the way they did. Thank God they won the game. I will say this, just on a quick note. I thought the open to that game was Zonko, Warfield, and Little doing the intro. I thought it was marvelous. I thought it was
I missed it. I didn't catch it.
It was, you got to check it out. I mean, these three guys were so good. So good. It was great. It was great. The whole,
it's always nice to see.
It is. It's so nice to see. And you forget.
They should bring those guys out for every game, like Pete Smith with the Flyers.
I agree.
Every game.
Somebody. It's so hard. And I don't know. I mean, we're all getting older. We're, you and I are.
Try not to mention that, Tony.
You and I are in our 70s. And for me, since I covered this team as much as I did, we all grew up together, right? We were all young guys when this whole thing started. I was 22 in 72. They were 21 or 20 in 72. And you forget that we're all older now. And to see Zonko walk out in the middle of the field with a cane and to see, it's just like, oh my gosh, because you're seeing them, you remember them as young people, you remember them running the football, you see all the highlights, and all of a sudden you go, oh, the reality of it. But God bless them, they look great, and I'm glad everybody that's alive was able to come. And it was great that Beverly Schnellenberger was there, and Marianne Shula was there, and Garo Yepremian's wife was there. So it was great to have all these people there, and just a wonderful weekend. And thank God McDaniel won the game without going for that field goal, because that would have haunted him and haunted him. And
I thought Pittsburgh was going to score there at the end. I really did.
And if you think Dennis Dodd raked those three programs over,
he didn't really. I mean, he wasn't. I don't mean to give you the wrong impression. This wasn't some scathing criticism.
Wasn't an indictment.
It was no. It was just an exploration of the idea that money doesn't necessarily guarantee you success in college football. And
I think
the movement in that direction hasn't always worked, and put them in the category of Alabama and other schools like Georgia at this point.
When you put it that way, I get it. But here's the thing: I think that in order to be critical about that, you've got to give the ones that are just starting with the money time.
That's probably so.
That's all I'm saying. I think Jimbo deserves a little bit of a peak. And I don't know who the other programs
I never was a giant Jimbo fan. I didn't think he was as brilliant as.
But I think 5 games in, you need to give it a pass yet. I mean,
7 games. So we're looking at 3 and 4.
Or 7 games. 7 games in. So regardless, I think that first year is a hall pass.
Some hideous losses, though. I mean, that made it look particularly ugly.
And we're going to go back to the beginning. Embarrassing losses. Middle Tennessee and Duke. 8 turnovers. It's one thing to lose, but it's one thing to lose and not just get your butt kicked, but to kick yourself in the butt. And that's what they were doing. That's what they've been doing. So,
all right.
Agreed.
Tony, always a pleasure, my friend.
It's been fun.
What do you have on tap, my man? What's going on with?
Well,
Tony
I
Segreto?
have. I don't have Sam.
Picking
I have
apples today or something. I mean, is it apple picking time up there in Vermont?
It's
What's
apple
going on?
picking time. We
Yeah?
have. Yeah. Oh yeah. We got apple. We're doing some apple pies today. I think we're.
Nice.
I got some work to do today.
You're just up there baking pies while we're schlepping all over town. I mean, it's great, Tony. I love that about you.
Yeah, I got work to do, man. I'm busy. I was in Florida for one day last week on campus at the Board of Trustees.
Actually, that's right. How'd that meeting go? What was the story?
Extremely well. And then I did actually did an interview, a 45-minute interview with ESPN that's going to be part of their 360 special on the 72 Dolphins.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Going to be, and I did an interview, a 45-minute interview with NFL Film. They interviewed me. NFL Films interviewed me on the 72 team, and that's going to be part of their 30 for 30 coming up.
You're great on that stuff, by the way. When I see you in any of those documentaries,
thank you.
It's like, wow, that's our man, Tony Segreto, man. I mean, always great on it.
No wonder
you're a go-to guy. Yeah.
No,
I mean, they don't think of anybody else.
No, but it was fun because, interestingly enough, and I know we got to go, but the NFL Films interview, both 45 minutes they went, both NFL Films and ESPN, same subject, dramatically different questions. Dramatically different. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I will always have a great feeling, and I'm glad these guys did that champagne ceremony whenever the last undefeated team finally fell, because it kept them prominently in the public eye around the country and around the football universe. But I really, that was one of my favorite things about coming here to town. What was the ability to forge relationships and form relationships with those guys who were so well immersed in the community that it really was like you would see like Garo Yepremian in the grocery store, and it'd be like, hey, Garo, hey, Earl Marl, you're out there playing golf, and you ran into these guys everywhere. They were at every charity event. I mean, they really put themselves out there, and I don't know that you'll see another team like that, period. In any city that should have that dose of respect from the people here, and I'm not alone like you are, where like me, you're not alone in that. Everybody felt an affinity for these guys because they were such a part of the community.
Well, I said this, and I don't know if you'll agree, but we can chew on this next week. I said in the interview, because what the one thing they both asked me was, did you ever think it would last this long? And I said, honestly, in 72, we thought it would be done again. A bunch of us thought that it would happen again, but
especially with less games.
Yeah, I have to tell you now, with it being 50 years, this may tantamount to be the equal to DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. I don't know if anybody will step up and break it.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like this Belichick chase of Don Shula, which I thought he was further behind. I really did.
I wish you were. I wish you were.
Well, he might make it by, but he needs like 3 8-win seasons if he sticks around that long. All right, Tony, we love you, but we can't stick around any longer. Lubie's got to pack up all the gear and head down to the Southport Raw Bar with Mike Mayo. Nicky Mohan going to be on hand on that one.
Give Mike and Nicky my best. Dear friends, both of them dear people.
All right, we'll see you next week, Tony. Thanks. Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Ed Garcia, always great. Catholic Health Services, number 1 when it comes to any kind of health care, especially, victims of strokes. Wow, we saw that with that, what is it, Fetterman,
isn't it?
Fetterman, yeah.
Fetterman.
Wow, that was sad because, it was tough to watch. This Memonaz just mow this guy down because, his...
he had a stroke.
Cognizant activities weren't up to 100% because I think he's on the right side of things.
The last 2 months, it's really freaking annoying.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Have fun out there. I'll join you. I'll sign in and see what happens here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that'll save me a couple of hours though on a day where we're going out early tonight to see John Papa Grow at the Funky Biscuit. So that's going to be a nice little New Orleans treat and another opportunity for Mike Mayo to sample the food at the Biscuit, which he found to be surprisingly good for a musical venue to have a restaurant that was that level of quality for very reasonable prices. So looking forward to that evening with the great Joe Casal as well. And we'll see you guys later on South Florida Live. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
9:08.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.